in there. We got something from there. What is in front of you, Dave Nemo? What is that
Oh,
thing
you
right
know,
there?
we were pulling stuff from the Ocean Springs studio, and we're completely out of there now, and we are over here in Louisiana. But ran across some old 45s that I didn't know we still had. But and I think we have a video of this, or with the record. This is Asphalt Cowboy from Hank Thompson.
Not Jason Aldean.
Not the Jason Aldean. It's a completely different song. And it's interesting that Hank Thompson did several. He did one called "That's Just My Truckin' Life." He had several trucking songs. There was kind of a thing about trucking music.
Everybody
in
had
the
a trucking
70s.
song. Everybody had a trucking song.
They did. And it's interesting that he is instrumental in country music, overall country music history, in a rather unexpected way. And it had to do with a girl named Muriel Deason, whose stage name was Kitty Wells. And Kitty Wells was the name of an old folk song that her husband gave her. Johnny and Jack were a team, and they had a girl singer. And back in the 30s and 40s, the girl singer in a country music group was known as the girl singer. There was a girl named.
Can I have that title?
Yeah,
can
exactly.
I be known as the girl
And now
singer?
the
Oh no, we
girl
have a
singer.
girl singer, by the
Yeah.
way. Actually,
We do have a
we
girl
have a girl
singer.
singer, by the way. We have a
exactly.
couple
What
of
is
them.
her
But we
name?
have
I forget her name. because-
Lindsay Lala.
Oh, yeah, that girl
Lindsay.
singer.
She's actually going to do our national anthem for us today.
Yes,
we
she
got,
will.
We got that happening. Go on,
So,
I'm sorry.
so anyway, there was a girl named there was a character named Bonnie Blue Eyes, and I can't remember the name of the band that Bonnie Blue Eyes was in. But there were 8 different Bonnie Blue Eyes through the years in the 1940s. Kitty Wells, okay, so
Was she the
Hank
fi-
Thompson.
Was she the final Bonnie Blue Eyes, and then she became
Pretty
Kitty
much.
Wells?
Yeah.
Oh, very
No,
cool.
no. Kitty Wells, this is a different story.
Oh, okay.
This is parallel stories. So
I have no idea
Hank
where we
Thompson,
are. It must be
okay,
in Nemo
so
Nation.
Hank Thompson did some trucking songs in the 70s. And Asphalt Cowboy was, in our catalog, was number 6874.
This is really cool.
I have the original 45 right here, and the original studio professional record sleeve. You know, the little jackets that they come in, those are just paper. These are nice. These are absolutely incredible. And they used to be darker, too. But
You have a number on it, though, because
6874, because that was the library.
you had to be able to pull. I mean, how extensive was that library? I mean, what did that
Well,
look like?
we had at least 6,874 45s. And this was 1975, so go figure. We had a lot of records and a lot of albums. And we had, like the old library with the card catalogs, the 3x5 cards.
Mm-hmm.
Every song had a card with the name of it, the artist, and the time of the song, and how long the introduction was. I don't know if it's on this record or not. Yes, the intro is 10 seconds long.
Wow.
So if you were a disc jockey back in the day, you would start this record up, and the instrumental would start up.
So you knew how much time you had to pull a Wolfman Jack if you wanted to, right?
Yes, you had 10 seconds to talk before the actual singer started. So you'd be talking over the intro, da 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 da, and then boom, he would sing, and that was the note of the art of walking up to a vocal. And in fact, I was really good at that. And I told my wife that I think I'm going to have that put on my gravestone. He really knew how to walk up to a vocal.
Dave Nemo, by the way. By the way, guys, this is Nemo Nation, and we are so thrilled to be here at the Degas House. Dave Nemo, myself, Phone Master Dre. You can actually call him at 615-292-6366. We're going to be taking a couple of y'all's phone calls really soon. The format is a little bit different than we've ever done before, and yet at the same time it has echoes of previous formats, in the sense that Dave had a really good time at CVSA here in New Orleans. And the way you guys did it when you were over there with the Wolf, with Russell Wolf, is that you guys literally hurtled through space and time like we do at conferences.
Yeah.
You just went from person to person to person to person, talking rapidly to a bunch of different, influencers, movers, shakers, and people in the industry. And so we thought we would create a show where we bring the mountain to Muhammad, where we talk to people in the news industry people who are influencers, people who have something to say. As a matter of fact, we got a last-minute addition. Andy Poliakoff is going to be joining us of the CVTA in the wake of the FMCSA's announcement that they, in fact, are going to start running off the CDL mills and running off the bad actors from the training industry.
And just last week, there was another big story out of Washington State. They busted yet another one of these CDL mills who were just taking money under the table and handing out licenses.
Yeah, and of course, that in many ways, that's a longer conversation at some point that we'll have down the line here, the idea that one of the reasons why there's so much burn and churn in the industry, Dave, is because what we're looking at here is the fact that we're putting a lot of people into the industry who don't have the skill sets. And one of the things that we're hoping to do on this show and on Road Gang Radio, which starts tomorrow with Lindsay and I, is it's not just about making a living, it's about making a life. And in many ways, what you've done on the radio for the last 50 years is reminding people that it's not just about the bottom line, but it's also about your heart, it's also about how you feel, it's also about can you, in fact, get comfortable out here and really make it happen for yourself. That's kind of fair, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Dre, before we actually get to the pledge and national anthem, we're going to have all that groovy stuff. Let's get a first phone call in here, shall we? Can we bring anybody in?
I have a feeling that we might be able to do that, and if we're going to do it with anybody, I think Chowder should come hang out with us. What do you think about it, Chowder?
Good morning, Chowder.
Good morning, guys. Long time. Haven't heard you. Felt a little lost in the woods without you, but I had a great time. I'm glad to hear you on. I specifically woke up at 05:30 my time just to be able to call in and wish you a good start to your good news show on this good new day of this good week of this time in June where I have to go back to work from Yellowstone.
Well, that's awfully good of you.
I have to add one thing real quick, Chowder. I'm sorry that you were just able to hear the show because I'm used to these mixes on this board now, so they didn't hear anything until about 2 minutes ago on the line, like the phone lines. Everybody heard it throughout the interwebs, but on here, no. So, thank you for queuing in, and sorry about that.
And Dave, by the way, since Chowder is here, Andre and I, after the show, are going to share with you, Chowder went on an adventure. I mean, Chowder went on an adventure, and the pictures that he sent us, and I'm gonna sit down. We're gonna curate some of them. We're gonna put them together and put maybe up a little post of one of those collages that Tarrah does. Don't worry, Tarrah, that's not gonna be an immediate thing. But tell everybody what you did, brother. This is really cool. Tell Dave what's going on, man.
Well, Dave, Chowder decided him and the wife, Tammy, needed to go on a vacation. So I guess 4 months ago, my friend from the military who has a rare version of MS decided we wanted to go on vacation somewhere, so we decided to go to Yellowstone. Well, he wasn't able to make it because he got sick again, so we still went. And we stayed in a rustic in Wapiti, Wyoming. It's 20 miles outside of the east gate of Yellowstone in a real rustic, nice-looking 1800 set-up dude ranch type place. Drove into Yellowstone 4 days, drove around there. I think we put almost 2,000 miles on during the week in Yellowstone. And I did 38 and a half miles of hiking in Yellowstone while the wife did book reading and watching, and we did stuff together too. And we saw the melting pots, the mud pits. We saw Old Faithful, of course. But the neatest thing I found is called the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. And it looks like the Grand Canyon with a massive falls there. And I'll tell you, a guy that's 53 years old and 230 pounds probably should read all the signs before hiking some of them. It was only 3/8 of a mile one way.
Yeah.
But it's a 6,000-foot elevation drop. And the downhill's not bad. And the pictures and video is worth it. But the hike back up, it's a little, you feel the burn, as they say in the exercise world. You feel the burn. So it was a good time getting away. And then we went through the Grand Tetons and Jackson Hole on the way back. So I'm sorry, Jimmy, if I blew up your number.
No, brother. And to show you how hooked in I was.
That's the greatest hits of national parks.
That fish you caught, dude, on the dock. The picture of the fish on the dock was just awesome, dude. No.
Yeah,
you didn't blow my phone. You was awesome.
Where's my sorry at? I have 89 messages. Okay.
But you guys use whatever, all of, any of, none of, or whatever you want. You can go to my Facebook and steal whatever you want. I don't care. I wanted just to bring you guys along on the road the best way I could, and that's all I knew how to do. But
that was well done.
A lot of historic stuff.
It was well done, dude. I can't wait to share that stuff, man. People are going to be so excited. I have to tell you, so many people talk about going and doing, and dude, you went and you did, and that's so important in life, man. That's so important.
that there was a lot of historic stuff, and I didn't even know it was there. Like Yellowstone Inn, it's a cabin, but it's the largest log cabin in North America or the U.S., and it's pretty impressive to see that. And then just the whole trip and all, I probably remember this one for a while, and I'll probably feel it for a few more days still.
I got to tell you, man, dry heat and elevation are the two silent killers on any sort of outdoor activity trip. Because, man, you start going up some kind of incline, and you think, I got it.
Yeah.
I got the bends. You know, I mean, it just happens for you.
That's right.
Hey, welcome.
I'm not up there with Stark level of adventure, but I'm getting there.
By the way, he's got a couple of adventures he's on right now, but he's going to start joining us on a regular basis just to kind of keep you up on what's going on. Not only did he come along with us, but we're trying to work out exactly what time Peter Stark is going to be a regular contributor on the show. Brother, it is so good to have you be the first phone call. Welcome to Nemo Nation.
Hey, thanks. I'll try to follow where I can, but I'm getting this technology figured out, so I'll be popping in when I can. Thanks for having me on. Have an enjoyable run. Have a good show. Love you guys all. Have a good day, Dave, Tim, Jim, Dre, all you guys. Lindsay, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much, Chowder.
Speaking of that, let's make this really easy. If you go to radionemo.com, this is what you can tell your friends. You go to radionemo.com and just click the play button on there. You can hear us. Dre,
you know what, though? He sounded better in my headphones than I've ever heard any phone caller ever.
Would you agree, Dre?
You're welcome.
Yes. No, I mean, he sounded like he was in the room.
I know it. Didn't he sound great? This equipment is fantastic. I'm living the life.
Oh, by the way, this equipment was brought to us by Fassport, solving America's toughest recruiting and workforce challenges through research, technology, and people. From registered apprenticeships to veteran readiness, you can learn more at fassport.com, nationalapprentice.org. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have our regular drop-ins with Fassport, but we're going to celebrate them today because a lot of the groovy. If you're hearing this the way you want to hear it, it's due to them. If you're hearing this the way you don't want to hear it, it's due to us. It's all on our side, by the way. You guys busted your tookus this weekend. I mean, you know, General Wellington at the Battle of Waterloo called it the nearest run thing I've ever seen in my life. And literally, Brad can tell you, because we actually had reservations for a sit-down celebratory dinner. I had to call up Brad and say, yeah, that ain't going to happen. So Brad canceled the reservations, brought over a working lunch. The alarms went off right as they were putting the finishing touches so that Dave and Cheryl could bring Nick and Tarrah to the airport. I mean, we were one step ahead of the sheriff. It's pretty fair, huh, Dave?
We were, and we were putting things together like an hour and 15 minutes ago.
I mean,
we couldn't remember the passwords to the computers.
Oh, my God. Well, we remembered them. It just turned out we were like on the wrong Wi-Fi. We are, guys, be patient with us. We're going to figure all this out. But it was more important for us to get on the air than to make sure that every little last detail was right, because that's the game. You know, you get on the air and you figure it out as you kind of move along. I mean, just that's kind of fair, right?
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah, because because we had some really obsessive people around here the last 4 or 5 days, you know. I mean,
really?
People really on top of stuff. Dre, 615-292-6366. You going to let us know when other people call in?
Absolutely. We got a few in there, and I will get them after. Are we going to go to a good old?
I think what we should do is matter of fact, we got a girl. We got a girl.
We got a girl singer.
We got a girl singer. So what we're going to do here real quick is we're going to do a little bit of a pledge.
Ooh.
Get a little national anthem in there. But we're going to change things up a bit. The breaks are going to happen on this show at the end of the half hours. We're going to take a quick break here, come back on the other side. Oh, and by the way, just to remind people really quickly, that story that Dave told about Asphalt Cowboy was brought to you by truckdown.com. Since 1997, they've been making sure that maintenance providers actually get hooked up with truckers who actually are broken down. 50 states, 8 provinces. Go to truckdown.com.
You know, there are 3 entities involved with that title, Asphalt Cowboy. First, we have the Hank Thompson song. Then the 1980 TV movie called Asphalt Cowboy, and it starred Max Baer Jr. Now, do you know who Max Baer Jr. is? If you don't, you probably do. Even if you don't think you don't. And
Jethro Bodine.
Jethro Bodine from the Beverly Hillbillies.
And his dad was one hell of a boxer too.
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
Max Baer.
That's good
Senior.
stuff. Good stuff. All right, take a moment of silence here. Pledge, anthem, and then we'll be right back.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rocked alive, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
How about that, huh? Lindsay
How about
Lowe.
that?
Lindsay Lowe. Hey, guys, by the way, we're not going to be subjecting Lindsay to having to be the only national anthem player. And our good friend Brad Bentley suggested we're down the block from John McDonough High School, which is a great place. We might ask some of the kids over there to come over here and do the pledge.
Oh, we can do that.
Record the pledge,
Yeah.
do a little national anthem. By the way,
We'll do that in September.
This is the kind of crazy stuff that I like to suggest to people. If you know a group of kids who want to get together and record us a Pledge of Allegiance and then send it to us, we will absolutely play that on the air.
We will absolutely play that on the air.
If you go to weekends@radionemo.com, and all you have to write at the top is pledge, and send us a recording of that, we will clean it up and we will put it on, and we will give those kids full credit, whether they are your grandchildren just getting together to do it, or whether they are some school or little league team that you support. We would love you to be a part of the action. All you got to do is go to weekends@radionemo.com and just make sure when you send us the recording, you write pledge in the subject heading. We're just going to make stuff up as we go along around here. I mean, that's kind of what's going on here today. We got an amazing lineup, by the way, along with Andy, who's going to be here at 7:45. Tarrah is going to drop in a moment to talk about Tarrah's, Breaker Talkback?
Breaker Talkback.
Breaker Talkback. She'll be joining us to kind of get your social medias in there. And then, of course, our first guest of the morning after Andy comes in. He's the special guest of the morning. First guest of the morning is Jami Jones, the managing editor over at LandLine. We got Dean Croke today. We got our good friend Dan Ronan stopping in.
Mike Roeth from
Roeth
NACFE coming in.
And how about John Esparza at the end?
John Esparza going to wrap things up here this morning. Yeah, it's going to be a great. And Rick Gobbell is coming in.
Rick Gobbell's coming.
Yeah.
Mike Lutzenkirchen is going to be.
Rick and I started our careers, if you will. Now, I didn't start my radio career in 1972, but when I came back from the Army, I started my trucking radio career in 72. And Rick Gobbell started his career in ICC, Federal Highway Administration, Interstate Commerce Commission in 1972.
He didn't look a thing like I thought he'd look.
No, nobody ever does.
Well, no, the people who, like, I look at him and go, oh, it's you. Like, I mean, there are other people where I go, I have no idea. Like Junker looked like a Junker. Like, when I saw Junker the first time, I said, that's a Junker. When I saw Rick Gobbell, and by the way, it wasn't, like, disappointing. It was like, who let Gary Cooper in here, man? I mean, he looks like, Wallace, what is the guy, Gavin Stevens from one of those Faulkner novels, like the Southern lawyer who shows up and saves the day. Speaking of saving the day, let's go to the phones here real quick. Trey, who do we got?
Man, let me tell you, we got good old 3.5 in the house.
3.5 in the house.
Wow.
Dennis Chapman went to the American Historical Society. Hey, man, what's going on?
Hey, Dave and Mac. Just want to give you a rundown or a post report on the show. A little over 800 trucks. It's just like the one you remembered, only in a different location. And a couple of things happened. One is I became a Golden Achievement Award winner for being in the industry over 50 years.
Congratulations.
I also became a lifetime member of the ATHS. So at the awards banquet, they were thanking everybody involved in putting this together, the sponsors, the volunteers, and the people in the industry. And guess whose name came up? John Vendetta said, we couldn't have done it without Dave Nemo being out there too.
Oh, wow.
So,
holy cow.
So you were thought of, even though everybody knew you were busy putting the new deal together and wouldn't be there. But hopefully you'll be there next year.
Oh, absolutely. And we were planning on being there this year too, but plans change when plans are changed,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well, everybody knows, what you were up to. So, and you were thought of. I wanted you to know that.
That is so heartwarming. It really is. It really is.
So 3.5, tell us about the event. I mean, like I said, congratulations to you on all your success, and thanks for, letting us know about the shout out. But I mean, what was the experience like? I mean, from what Dean filmed and what you were posting, it looked like a lot of people had a really good time.
Oh, it was excellent. And the weather was great. Kind of a new location, I guess, that we're going back to now every 4 years.
Ah, okay.
And they're changing it rather than go from location to location and it being different, East Coast, West Coast, Central America. They're trying to find 4 venues that they can book on a 4-year basis so that it'll always be in Madison, Wisconsin every 4 years. It'll always be in York, Pennsylvania every 4 years.
That's a good idea.
Because you get used to the venue and you get, it's better than trying to do something new because, it becomes sort of a routine.
On a smaller scale, back in the 80s, the Southwest Trucking Show and the Texas Trucking Association had a lot to do with that. They would rotate between the Tarrant County Convention Center in Fort Worth and then to Houston and then to San Antonio. So they would do that triangulation every 3 years to kind of spread it around within the state of Texas. But the idea of doing 4 like that, you can really plan better. You know what you're going to get when you get there. It's good for everybody. That's a good move. It really is.
Because of the cost of moving these trucks around nowadays compared to the old days, to have something more, standard really works because, people from Saskatchewan can plan on Salem, Oregon, or people from New York don't maybe mind going to, Madison, Wisconsin.
Right.
So I think it'll really work out much better. And I know in the past I've told the radio listeners, but it's really like a family reunion. And I get to see people from Wyoming. I only get to see at these shows. I get to make new friends out of North Dakota. And then sometimes I get to see old friends like you or Tim or some of them that I've got to meet at various locations. But with any family reunion, you get that ugly cousin that shows up, and so you'll see that in the truck. There's that crazy aunt that comes along with him. That so you'll see that person or that truck in the show. And it becomes a real kind of a annual event that you enjoy from a lot of different aspects.
Dennis, hold on 1 second. We're going to actually take a quick break here. When we come back on the other side, we'll actually bring Dennis back on. We bring on Tarrah for Breaker Talk Back. Give us a second. We got to do some spots for people to take care of us. Trey, when you're ready, break us away, would you, my friend? It's Nemo Nation. Where are we going? Where are we headed? What's happening next? Got 3.5 hours left and Pittsburgh Power at the end.
Exceptional value and exceptional values. That's Bennett Trucking. A core commitment of faith, family, and freedom has driven Bennett to being the leading provider of innovative, integrated transportation solutions, both at home and abroad. Bennett's values are not just compatible with providing high-paying jobs and unmatched customer service. They're inseparable. If you're looking for an employer or a partner who believes the best business model is being a model citizen, then Bennett Trucking is the place for you. Go to BennettIG.com and find the folks who share your values.
Freight is moving at Creek Carrier and Schaefer Trucking. We are growing and our customers keep growing with us. If you want to be part of a company that appreciates what you do and rewards you for it, you should check out Creek Carrier Corporation. We're looking for safe drivers that have at least 1 year's experience and take their job seriously. Then we reward you with great pay and some real serious benefits. Freight's moving, so check out Creed and Schaefer today. Go to creekcarrier.com and find the right job for you.
The Joshua Chamberlain Society is unlike any other veterans organization. It's truly a family, and I know that firsthand from working with them myself. Their mission is to make wounded veterans and families of deceased veterans feel the support and appreciation of their community for life. Our veterans' injuries are permanent, and so is the JCS support. From monetary assistance like paying utility bills or college funds to helping our heroes find purpose, JCS is a family that surrounds and supports the heroes who have sacrificed so much. Learn more and make your donation at chamberlainsociety.org. That's chamberlainsociety.org.
Wait a minute. Are you running all of your rig's accessories?
All of them. You like that?
No, why would I? Your engine's turned off.
That means I ain't violating no idling laws. You like that?
No, why would I? That means you're running off your battery.
I'm running on an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, why wait. Did you say an Odyssey battery?
Odyssey battery. Rugged, maintenance-free, thin plate pure lead technology, and massive deep cycling capability. Plenty of reserve power to run onboard accessories. Engine on or off. Twice the power, 3 times the life of conventional batteries. That's an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, I don't like that. I love that. Wait a minute. The crickets stopped.
Odyssey hasn't.
Get yourself an Odyssey battery. Performance you can count on.
Woo! Man, from the Big Easy to the open road, this is Nemo Nation, broadcasting live from Fastport Studios with your hosts, Dave Nemo and Jami Mac.
Oh, Nelly, let me tell you about Dave Nemo. He's in the house. We actually asked our good friend 3.5 to stick around for a second just to kind of wrap up that conversation before getting a breaker talk back with our good friend the Turtle. Tarrah is going to be joining us here in a second. Good morning, Dave Nemo. How are you?
Good morning. Doing fantastic. Our first 30 minutes down, and it has been a great... Brad Bentley was here for a little while from Fastport.
Who went to get his passport.
Who went to go get his passport. That's a story for you.
Oh, my God. Was stuck in South Africa for almost a week.
Yeah.
Doing his thing, man. Doing his thing. Let's get Dennis back on. 3.5. Sorry, Dan. When you know somebody and you love them, you just call them by their name. How you doing, man?
Dennis.
He should be on there.
Is he with us?
Max, if you're talking to me, the background music is covering you up.
Yeah. Yeah, the background music is covering us up.
There you go.
There you go. You see, it's too loud. It's too loud. We'll work on it. We're working on all this stuff. Stuff. We're making it happen here. Guys, welcome back to the Dave Nemo Nation.
This is sort of like a shakedown cruise on the concrete seas.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we'll get all this stuff fixed today. We don't care. We're making up as we go along, kind of like ATHS when it first started, and now it's got a real pattern. So really quickly, from what I understood, 4 locations are going to be settled upon, and they're going to rotate every 4 years, correct?
Correct. Now, these locations haven't been cemented yet. Next year is Cleveland, but there's threat of a stadium being built on that location, and it could move. For the members that were known about the locations, we were doing Reno again in 2 years, and the casino has decided maybe they don't want big trucks, so we've moved that to Salem, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
And it looks like, and we've been to Salem, Oregon before, so it looks like Salem, Oregon will be a definite. It looks like York, Pennsylvania will be a definite. It looks like Madison, Wisconsin will be a definite.
Okay.
So we just have to lock in that 4th location, and obviously, you can't stop these stadiums, so we might get in Cleveland 1 year and then have to move it.
My brother, we are going to start our segment with our good friend, the Turtle, here in a second. We wanted to keep you on to let you wrap up and bring it to point. Man, thank you for being one of the first callers on Nemo Nation. We're still figuring it out.
Thanks for being out there.
Oh, man, we're glad you're along for the ride. When we get the music stuff worked out in regards to our rights and all that, this place is going to get really groovy. Thank you, 3.5.
Yeah, don't forget, Christmas comes on 18 wheels.
Oh, it does. It does. By the way, now it's time for our new segment, isn't it? Our new segment, which is an old segment with a new title. Tarrah the Turtle joins us this morning for Breaker Talkback. Good morning to you, Tarrah. You excited? We're back.
Oh my gosh, wow. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Jimmy.
Good morning.
So honored to be the first ever guest on Nemo Nation. Like, whew, it's been a whirlwind of the past few weeks, has it not?
Oh, we were talking about that. The nearest run thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, literally the alarms were going off to get you and Nick back to the airport right as you guys were finishing the last few things. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of things, while they were important, but not urgent, that kind of got left on the table as you guys kind of took off. And then the irony was you got to the airport. Dave, you heard what happened to Tarrah, right?
At the airport?
2.5 hour delay.
Oh, that is airplane flying.
That's just unbelievable.
Yes. I could have stayed with you guys just a little bit longer, but I got to wait at the airport, and it was all good. But yeah,
it's a nice airport, though.
It's been insane. It is a very nice airport.
And you made a friend, didn't you? You actually ran into a drunk, and that drunk actually got you to meet a friend, correct? Or was the drunk your
my
friend?
gosh, yeah.
Tell us.
The drunk was not my friend, but he did fall asleep and almost lay his head on me, so it was kind of strange. And they had to escort him out because
a drunk flying out of New Orleans. That's never happened.
Yeah, that's a rarity, I would assume. But yeah, definitely made some friends at that gate, being there for almost 3 hours.
So what do we got going on out there? I mean, I've been checking out our social media. Jamie Jones, who's going to join us just in a little bit here, actually told me we had some really great stuff going on over there with videos and postings and all kinds of groovy stuff. Dave got a little video up there. You've been kind of tracking the social media along with helping set up the studio. What's happening out there in Turtle Land?
Wow, it's been a lot, I will say. There's been so many comments and so many encouraging words, and a lot of people were a little concerned they wouldn't be able to listen, and I can see the back end of all of this right now, and you guys are listening, and thank you for being here. It's so refreshing to see you guys, and we're also, we're live streaming on YouTube with a live chat room. If you're driving, do not go and chat in the chat room, but if you are not driving right now, you can go live chat with us in the chat room. We have so many people. Master Chief is in here saying some things. We have so many people in here, and we're very excited to have you. So big shout out to everyone in the YouTube chat right now. On Facebook, on Instagram, we've had so many comments. I mean, it was crazy being off air and not hearing you guys, not hearing those listener phone calls, and we're so happy to be back.
Yeah, and having Chowder be the first call, and then 3.5 with a check-in from the ATHS. A lot of other folks are trying to get in the action. By the way, really quickly, we have a segment coming up on the show where we celebrate people's birthdays, whether they're alive or whether they are dead. One of the birthdays we'll be talking about today is Jackie Mason. We're going to be telling his jokes throughout the course of the show. I have enough money to last me the rest of my life unless I buy something. After the money we've put out this last week in an attempt to get these studios working, that might, in fact, be the truth. But you got to get some comments for us, Tarrah. What are people saying? What are people telling us?
Well, first from the live chat, D. Taylor just commented, well, Dave, congrats. Great to hear all of you, the crew. I refuse to miss one episode as I've been listening to you since March of 2004. Wow. So we are so happy you found your way over to the new platform. That is so exciting. And coming in from our Facebook page, we got a comment from Cherokee Kid that says, hey, Dave, I've been listening to you for a long, long time. Sorry I've been missing the show, but I retired back in January of this year after 50-plus years of over the road. I had to hang up the keys. Met you one time 20 years ago during a live broadcast. We didn't talk too much, but I'll never forget it. It's been a hell of a ride with you, my friend. All the hours you kept me awake on those long nights, trekking across this great nation. Thank you so much, Cherokee Kid.
Really quickly, I've got a couple of comments here I want to kind of point out to Dre. Everybody's telling us, Dre, that every single phone caller is louder than we are. So if you can bring up Dave and my volume, that would be outstanding.
It's something that we're going to have to work out, a little fine-tuning and certain things deeper than my access at the moment, but I'm working on it. I will get y'all taken care of.
All right, so Dave and I are going to be a little bit louder and a little bit prouder here, and Dave is going to actually focus on his microphone and not be obsessed with the Palantir that is the internet. Dave, by the way, is so obsessed with the internet that he keeps on turning there, looking stuff up, seeing what's going on the newfangled technologies. Check. He's got. I mean,
it's exciting.
It's amazing. It's like, we've never had this much. I mean, we've always kind of run one step ahead of the sheriff, and we're still figuring out. I'm not sure how we're going to react to having this kind of equipment, to be honest with you, Dave. The idea of having like tables that actually rise and fall, having computers that actually have big screens to them. It's going to be really exciting, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, we're operating with space age equipment in a 19th century home where a famous painter in the 1870s lived. I mean, you can't put that that's a mashup that doesn't happen every day. And one of the few places that can happen is right here in New Orleans.
Well, it's kind of chaotic here, too. We got so much going on. Dre, tell me what's happening, brother.
I was about to ask you if y'all wanted to take one more call while we got T-Money on here.
Let's get a call here with T-Money on the phone with us. Who's joining us?
Oh, man, it's going to be fast, and he's probably not going to have much to say. Mark, what's up, dude?
Hey, Mark. Welcome to the show. Mark, yay.
Come on. You take your thing off mute, Mark.
Good morning.
Can we not hear him?
We should be able to hear him.
I feel as if.
Can you hear him, Tarrah?
I can hear him. Hi, Mark.
We can't hear him.
Interesting.
Lots of stuff.
I think it's just you and me.
Lots of stuff to work.
I think put him back on hold.
I think we put him back on hold. We'll bring him in here in a second. What else is happening out there in the blogosphere, in the internet, and the newfangled technologies? What's going on?
Well, we have a comment. I will just say it is overwhelming right now. I will say in the best way possible. I have like 3 tabs open, getting some comments from the Facebook Live, the YouTube Live. Dee and Henderson just said, great to hear you guys on such great platforms that make the program available to so many of us and getting the word out. Hashtag RGR. And then something new just happened. Someone just sent us stars. I set that up a really long time ago to help Truckers Against Trafficking. And someone just sent us 99 stars to help Truckers Against Trafficking during the Facebook Live. So I'll be so real, I don't know what that means right now. But thank you so much to Donald D for sending us those stars. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Donald. And by the way, I got a couple of notes here from our good friend Mark, and I'm letting people know that we're aware of what's going on. He could hear Dave, but he couldn't hear Chowder. He did not hear the anthem while he was on hold, but we actually talked about that. Dre and I talked about that. That's fine. People could hear the anthem on the live thing. Mm-hmm. And Dave and I are going to pick up our volume. We got lots of stuff to work on after this show, but good God Almighty, it's great to be alive.
I know. This is like I say, it's a shakedown cruise.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be fantastic. Tarrah, one last thing. So I wanted to ask you this. So people can listen live on radionemo.com. They are listening live right now on YouTube. Where else can they listen live? Anyplace else?
Yeah, you can listen on iHeartRadio. You can listen on YouTube Live, so youtube.com/RadioNemo. You'll be able to hit our live stream every single day, and you can join us in the live chat as well, and on our Facebook page. So go to @RadioNemo online on Facebook, and you can go into our live stream there as well. And just search Radio Nemo on iHeartRadio and add us to your presets on your app, and then you'll be notified every time. And we're so happy you guys are here. Thank you for bearing with us through all the kinks, and I'm so excited. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. And by the way, we got to make sure we get those Comrexes to you, because at some point we got to get you your own individual line. You're calling in, right? You're not on a Comrex, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm calling in right now.
Yeah, you sound great, by the way. As a matter of fact, you sound so good, people are telling us that all the callers sound terrific. Maybe Dave and I got to work on this a little bit over here. But we're going to get you a Comrex so that you can actually be able to kind of do the gig and have a lot of fun over there. Tarrah, thank you so much for all the work you put in this last week. I want to let everybody out there know point blank, if Tarrah and Nick had not shown up last week, we would not be on the air. And when I tell you one step ahead of the sheriff, Turtle, I can't wait to have more conversations with you and see what else is going on. Good to talk to you. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, too. So excited for everything. Have a great rest of the show, guys.
You too. And by the way, if you hear things in the background, it's because Dave occasionally brings up stuff on the computer, which actually bleeds its way.
Where was that? Yeah, I could hear the sound, but the audio, but I don't know where it was coming from.
It's coming from the computer. The computer actually is what plays the sound. It comes out of the computer. I'm not being a jerk.
No, I know, but there are no speakers over there, so I don't know where.
No, I think the speaker's actually in the monitor.
Oh, is it?
I think it's in the monitor, which is why you can hear stuff. Hey, what do we got, Trey? What's happening? We're gonna.
I think we're gonna be segueing to our next guest. Isn't that right?
You want to give Andy a call?
Man, I got Andy locked and loaded.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
He's in the house.
So really quickly to let you guys know, it turns out that the FMCSA is actually beginning its own clearing of house. Not a clearing house, but clearing house of what we call sometimes the shady operators and the CDL mills. You talked about it, Dave, earlier on the show. Andy Poliakoff, of course, who is the executive director over the CVTA, joins us this morning. Andy, it was good to talk to you yesterday, and it's great to have you as a guest on the first hour of the first Nemo Nation. Good morning, man.
Boy, am I honored to be here, and congrats on the new digs. Sounds great on my end, so congratulations on the new spot.
Oh, thank you very much, Andy. Thank you so much for all the work you guys are doing. And we always seem to go around in circles in terms of what the government is doing and how the trucking industry is reacting. What do we have on our hands right here? Is it a little bit difficult to actually discern what is going on?
That's a good way of framing it. So just for a little bit of background, I work for an organization called the Commercial Vehicle Training Association. We have about 400 member locations all over the country that train 100,000 entry-level truck drivers each year. And so we have a really unique perspective and a lot of insight on where the great training is going on that's so meaningful to getting new folks in the industry. But we also have seen over many, many years all of the bad actors, the CDL mills, the 24-hour training, 48-hour training sort of operations that pop up. And this entry-level driver training rule, which is all sort of a clearinghouse that occurs, and the registration of all those people occurs through this thing called the Training Provider Registry. And so what you've had over the years since this became federal law is a desire on the part of the people observing this to make sure that we can get those bad actors out of the industry so they can stop fleecing people for their hard-earned money, telling them they're going to get them ready to have a trucking career in 48 hours, which is just remarkably untrue, right? But then we get to sort of your good point, which is, well, how do we really know what's going on when we interact with the federal government or the government in general? I think it's a great way of framing it. And that's what really at CVTA we've been trying to do as part of what we convene our ELDT task force. And that task force has been working to put pressure on the FMCSA for a number of years, but also to work in partnership with the FMCSA. And what we had seen prior to quite recently is years and years of nothing happening, right? Only a few people being removed, or and state agencies going out of their way to say, hey, FMCSA, we need these people off. Here are the names. Here's, the 10 people we want removed, or the 20 people we want removed. And crickets, nothing happens. And so we've been working with the FMCSA for a long time, trying to get them to begin action on this. And as Jimmy notes, indeed, over the last really week or so, we've finally started to see some movement. But I hate to be the voice of throwing cold water on this. We're really not in a position yet where we're at all taking our foot off the gas, because we've seen before them do little surges where they remove, a couple dozen people, that sort of a thing, or put them into a sort of pending removal status, and then a year would go by and nothing happened. So this is a positive thing. I think we view this absolutely as a net positive, but we are keeping pressure on this because we need to see it get fully cleared.
The thing I wanted to bring up as well, too, is that, it's so important to remember that this is people's hard-earned money. And that what you guys are up to here is not just about setting standards in the industry, but you're in fact having to also double as a consumer protection agency.
Yeah,
that's what's so crucial about what you and on the public sector they have to do is that in the same way you're kind of moving towards making sure that there is some level of accreditation. Because as you bring up, there are states who are really doing, the good work, who are finding these bad actors and sometimes are able to run them out of town. The problem is sometimes they run them across the state line where they just set up shop again and we're off to the races, which is why you guys need so much buy-in and consistent pressure from the FMCSA to get these guys out of here. That's why the national level is so important, because it's like 50 states of whack-a-mole, or getting the FMCSA to simply step in and say, enough's enough, you don't meet the standards, you're fleecing hard-earned people of their hard-earned money, and you're playing on people's dreams. So in many ways, it's not just about protecting your interest, which, by the way, is perfectly fine, but you actually are, you are a consumer protection agency to a large degree here, correct?
Indeed, and we really view ourselves, I don't know that CVT ever, quite so clearly ever viewed itself as a watchdog organization until over the past couple of years when we've had to, really examine exactly what was going on, at a state level, at a local level, and understand, who and where some of these bad actors were. But you bring up a great point about the consumer protection component. Imagine someone who, really has aspired and dreamed to become a truck driver. Think of what all of us learned. So many in this industry were familiar with the industry. We already knew and considered truck drivers to be heroes. But then with, some of the COVID era, you just imagine people, remember people standing on the side of, main streets clapping as the trucks were coming into town. I just always think of that when I think of someone who, in that, time frame, wanted to become a truck driver. They may have no understanding of the industry, and so they say, oh, I can get trained, in a week or, a long weekend, and I'm already busy. This would be really a good deal. And they go in and they just get their money taken. They don't get trained in a way that's going to make them, credibly able to get one of the jobs that they dream of. And it's really problematic, I think, from a consumer protection standpoint. And then there's the enormous elephant in the room of the safety component, which is really what I think CVTA originally focused on in their understanding of why we should advocate on behalf of this. Remember, this is a regulation, a rule that there be minimum standards in the trucking industry that didn't just come out of thin air. Like dozens of organizations, the American Trucking Association, the owner-operators, CVTA, the insurance companies, all of these folks came together to create this rule over 10 years ago at this point. And so it's taken an eternity to get to where, or we could say 7 years. It took 7 years approximately, to seem like an eternity, to get to where it was enforceable federal law. And for the last 3 years, we've been fighting like the dickens to make sure that enforcement is real and has teeth. And we're finally, I think, as you say, starting to see some decent progress. But boy, we are not even considering letting our foot off the gas at this point.
Let me by the way, and this is one of the great things about being the first time on a show, but it's also one of the interesting things, first time on a show on the first time of that show. Courtney George, by the way, is giving you a big shout out, Dave, say it's going great this morning. Shannon Courier contacted me to tell me that everything sounds great this morning. Everybody's hearing Andy and you and I and Phone Master Dre crystal clear, so we're thrilled about that. And I also wanted to bring up something really fun here because, Andy, I'm going to change topics here really quickly because I don't know if Dave knows this about you. Dave, in fact, is an accomplished drummer and an accomplished percussionist. Andy's got Andy, tell Dave about your own background in music, brother. It's really groovy.
Yeah.
Well, and that's neat to know. I didn't know that about you, Dave. So let's see. So I was a touring musician in a super cool band called Virginia Coalition for, 12, 14 years, something like that. Singer, a guitar player. And, I still get to do that every once in a while, which is super fun. I've stayed friends with a lot of great people that soared into the stratosphere of the music industry. And so they'll sometimes say, hey, come play a show with us. And I get to walk out on stage and get to feel super special. But whether it's a small show that we play or a big one in front of a bunch of folks, I love playing music, and I'm playing it more and more these days whenever I get the chance. How about yourself?
Well, first off, I see you and me playing together sometime here.
Soon,
Probably.
July
here.
23rd. Actually, circle that day. We're going to have a ribbon cutting here, and Dave's band is going to be one of the bands that plays here for that. We got to get you on stage if we can somehow manage to get you down here. But go ahead, Dave. Tell them about Jedi Mind Trick.
Oh, Jedi Mind Trick. Yeah, we're a 6-piece band, cover band, here in New Orleans, and we play 60s, 70s, 80s kind of stuff. And I'm the percussionist in that. We have a drummer. Great drummer, but I'm on bongos and congas and bells and whistles. So, yeah, I'd love to get together with them. That's awesome.
So wait, your name of your band is Jedi Mind Trick?
Yes, but it's spelled Jedeye, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is the line? This is the band you're looking for. I guess.
You said it.
He got it. He got it. By the way,
You
they have a big
did.
old sign that
This
says
is
that. As
the
a matter of
band
fact,
you're looking for.
there
Yeah.
is a really cool. There's a really cool video someplace deep in our social media of Dave and his band at the Rock and Bowl in New Orleans, which is a really big venue, and they are playing the cover of Hawaii 5-0. And at one point, Dave has to absolutely break it down. He's on his congas, and is it bongos or congas?
Bongos on that one.
Yeah, bongos on that one, and he just goes to town, man. We do have it's an extended video of Dave doing his thing as well too. When's the last time you played, Andy?
That's a good question. I did 2 weekends ago. We played a pretty decent-sized show in North Carolina. There's our good buddies in this band called the Pat McGee Band invited us down to their festival. Let's see, we're going to open for a really super cool band called OAR of a Revolution. We're going to be playing with them in Pennsylvania in August. And then we have a huge show in D.C. where we're located at a place called the Atlantis in November. So and there'll be other things intermixed around there, but those are some of the big.
That is awesome.
I love that I got on the radio to talk about this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's what this show is, man. That's what we're telling people. We're going to give them the information they need to know in a really good time in the process. But I'm telling you, Andy, if you can find any time, July 23rd, Fastport, and all of us folks here at Radio Nemo are doing a ribbon cutting ceremony basically over here.
I'd love to.
And we're going to have some trucks over here. We're inviting all of our friends, and Dave's band's going to be here. Lindsay's going to be here. Some folks that she's going to be bringing down are going to be here. So anybody who's in the trucking industry who's also a musician has got to get down here for the jam that I know is absolutely going to happen. Speaking of jams, when is the next time you guys are all getting together at CVTA? When's your next big event?
Great question. Thank you so much. So, and by the way, I really would love to do that. I'll look at the calendar and see if we can get that to happen. So, let's see. So September 24, 25, and 26, CVTA will be holding. We have 2 conferences a year. They are not to be missed events, and that's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, at a gorgeous place called the Wigwam Resort. 3 golf courses, beautiful location, all that. And so, it's exciting to have this community of, we call it the community of leaders, come together, because it is all of the decision makers and the people doing the good work of creating safe training out in this industry that get together to talk about best practices, talk about how to move the needle in terms of the regulations that need enforcing, et cetera. So that's going to be 24, 25, 26 in Phoenix, Arizona, and just always looking forward to great speakers, great folks coming together.
Yeah, and by the way, having been to a couple of these events by myself and with Lindsay, I got to tell you guys, I was actually talking with Brad about this yesterday, and he and I were discussing that if you really want to get a pulse of what's going on, not just in training, but in the industry, these are really terrific events to go to, really great conferences to attend, and a really good membership. Really quickly, before we got to get you out of here and go to our break, Andy, tell people where they can go one more time if they want to explore the possibility of membership or find out what you guys are up to.
Yeah, for anyone listening, if you want to become a member, or if you're even just looking to learn more about where you might be able to take truck driver training and you want to find a great school, look no further than the Commercial Vehicle Training Association. Our website is www.cvta.org. That's Charlie Victor Tango Alpha, cvta.org. Come see us.
Andy, by the way, thanks for being a last-minute guest. Thanks for doing this drop-in. We really appreciate you, brother, and it's good to actually get the information about what the FMCSA is up to. Let's hope they keep it up. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, we want to be in the loop with you on this, too, in terms of where this is going, because A lot of times the FMCSA kind of just backs off, as you say.
Thank you, Andy. Jamie Jones is next.
Donna says it sounds. Are you on the hunt for the perfect place to recharge after a long day or week on the road? Look no further. Hotels for Truckers, designed by truckers for truckers, provides free membership that unlocks access to deep discounts and spacious tractor-trailer parking at thousands of popular hotel chains nationwide. Enjoy incredible discounts, earn valuable points, and enjoy a great night's rest. Download the Hotels for Truckers app today and make your long hauls more restful and affordable.
I'm a long-haul trucker. I don't have time for nonsense. So when I fuel up, I need to get in and get going with a fuel card that takes me there. Founded in 1978 by a trucker for truckers, Multi-Service Fuel Card is run by real, honest people who are there to help us road warriors keep our freight moving. And with nationwide acceptance, fuel discounts, and dedicated customer service, no matter where I'm going with Multi-Service Fuel Card, I never roll alone. Learn more at neverrollalone.com.
Want to make your diesel engine cleaner and more efficient? Pittsburgh Power's Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst can reduce your soot output by 60% and increase your thermal efficiency. Max Mileage keeps your engine and emission systems functioning at its best. Less soot means a longer engine and emission component life, drastically fewer regens, and better performance. Take the first step towards a cleaner, more efficient ride. Visit PittsburghPower.com and order your Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst today. Drive cleaner, drive smarter.
17 Sapp Brothers Travel Centers are known for great food, hospitality, and mom-approved showers and restrooms. But don't forget the service centers. Sapp Brothers ASE certified technicians can repair nearly any issue in shop or roadside, including axle repair. Dig into your free steak dinner with your oil change. That's a Sapp Brothers tradition to thank you for your business. Tires? Sapp Brothers will beat any competitor's advertised price on tires. And download the Sapp Brothers app for exclusive promotions in the shop, restaurant, and store. Your spot under the coffee pot is waiting for you at Sapp Brothers.
Freight is moving at Creek Carrier and Schaefer Trucking. We are growing and our customers keep growing with us. If you want to be part of a company that appreciates what you do and rewards you for it, you should check out Creek Carrier Corporation. We're looking for safe drivers that have at least 1 year's experience and take their job seriously. Then we reward you with great pay and some real serious benefits. Freight's moving, so check out Creed and Schaefer today. Go to creekcarrier.com and find the right job for you.
That sounds official.
Some breaking news going on there, courtesy of Claire Marie's wonderful compositional skills. Before we actually get to the breaking news on Nemo Nation, this sports report is brought to you by Shady Rays. Go to ShadyRays.com and check out their protection program. Man, if you break them, if you lose them, Shady Rays has got your back. ShadyRays.com. Detroit and Chicago at a 3-game set this weekend. That might have been a preview of a potential World Series. We'll see. But right now, it was a matchup of arguably the two best teams in the Bigs. The Tigers are up 7 in the Central, which, by the way, is when Nemo Nation begins. See what I did there? And the Cubs are up 4 in the NL Central. I did get here at 4. Dre and Dave got here at 5. Not saying, just saying. The Tigers took the rubber match 4-0 as Flaherty went 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, and struck out 9. And by the way, Jamie's going to love this. She joins us this morning, managing director over at LandLine. Managing director. I'm making her into like the grand poobah of all things. Congrats to movie maniac Tom Cruise, who has entered the Guinness Book of World Records when he made his 6th jump from an airplane with a burning parachute. He was strapped into a parachute soaked in gasoline. It was lit on fire. He deployed the flaming. He then cut it loose and deployed the actual one. He actually did it 16 times. A large part of Cruise's success can be chalked up to his absolute focus and authenticity and pushing the boundaries of what a leading man can do. It's an honor to be able to recognize Cruise's utter fearlessness with his new Guinness World Record title. That was Craig Glenday, editor-in-chief over at the Guinness Book of World Records. And by the way, it just occurs to me, Jamie, Can you imagine how angry the guy who held the old record must be right now? I mean, can you imagine the anger and the rage of that? Jami Jones, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. The fact that record even exists shows the level of human stupidity to be on.
I'm going to jump out of an airplane.
I was torturing, I don't know why, one of my writers not too long ago. We were laughing about stupid Guinness Book of World Records, and I said, but have you seen the one where the gal eats 5 quarts of mayonnaise? And he's like, no, that's not a thing. So, of course, I pull it up, and I'm sitting there, and I think we made it collectively like 10 seconds into it before I gagged.
Oh, my God.
And this poor Guinness Book of World Records official is having to stand there in real time and watch this.
Oh, my God. By the way,
She wins the record.
There, by the way, is somebody actually set the record for the most people wearing sheets as ghosts. But it happened in England. And I'm thinking, like, I went and watched it, and people actually had sheets over their heads with little holes in the eyes. It looked like it was spooky. Yeah. But I kept thinking, man, that could go really wrong in the Deep South. That could go really, really, really wrong in the Deep South. I mean, I can just see some people not taking it. But I always think about when I hear those ridiculous records is, how does the person who said it feel when it gets broken? I'm heartbroken for the guy who jumped out of a plane 5 times.
And with the price of gasoline today,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
dude.
you know,
Unbelievable.
Only a Hollywood star can afford to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Cruise has access to diesel at a level most of us don't have. You can't catch that on fire, by the way. Jami Jones joins us this morning. Hey, Jami, welcome. Welcome to the first Nemo Nation.
I am so happy to be here and so honored. You guys are the best. I really when I got the invitation from Claire, I was like, of course I'll do it. You know, this is a once in a lifetime deal right here. So I was very, very honored to get the invite.
Well, we are honored to have you, and have always loved working with you guys side by side through the decades. You know, OOIDA in its own right goes all the way back to the beginning of the new, what I would consider to be a new age of trucking. The 1970s brought on so many things that trended into the future, trended into what we're doing right now, as a matter of fact, on the entertainment and information side. And then you have the communication side, whereby I contend that truck, and think about this for a second, Jami. We're talking about social media. We're on YouTube Live, and folks are doing.
Wait, we're live?
We're live right now. This is not.
Oh, wait a minute.
This is not
Hold
the
on.
promised run through.
What's the delay?
The rehearsal got canceled. No, this is the real thing right here.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Keep it fair. Keep it fair, Dave. Keep it fair.
But what I'm getting at is that truck drivers and the birth of OOIDA itself was basically born of social media, and at that time it was the CB radio, and at that time only truckers were really using CB. It was designed for the Coast Guard, then farmers got a hold of it, and then truckers kind of got a hold of it.
And then some pimple-faced kid named Todd. That dude sucks. I'm sorry, we got totally in the weeds there. Jami, okay, so we're going to make this, we're going to use you as our guinea pig. What we're going to do with a lot of our guests here is ask them 3 basic questions. Dave, you want to fire them away?
Yes.
Here we go.
Jami Jones, in your opinion, what was the thing last week that resonated with you in terms of the trucking news, the trucking world, the trucking dynamic? And what today do you think is going to pull in through from last week into this week, and what do you see coming down the pike? Those are such easy questions, I was embarrassed to ask.
Well, and sometimes it's super easy to answer that. Sometimes it's not. You've worked in news long enough to know that there's those weird news cycles that you're like, don't really have anything solid to give you, but I'll pull something out. But we're in a really, I would say this is a big turning point for trucking right now. We've been in a long news cycle with the freight recession. the rate recession, the back and forth on the tariffs, the uncertainty of the market, everything like that. And while you have this economic news that's out there, it flipped, and we got something done that I don't think we would have been able to had the market not really contributed as negatively as it has. And that's the English language proficiency enforcement, which has everything to do with safety. And, and it really shouldn't be mistaken for anything else. And so we are coming up, we're about 2 weeks out from the enforcement of the English language proficiency standard. The CVSA quit putting them out of service about 10 years ago, and that's going to go back into effect here at the end of June. And a lot of people are really, really looking forward to that, hoping that that will change the situation and improve highway safety, and in turn hopefully help these depressed rates that they're seeing. But the conversation continues to grow around that. And last week, we saw a lot of conversation happen about cabotage. And I love that word because you say it to anybody, and pretty much 9 out of 10 people are going to look at you like, what?
Well, Jami, let me say this about that. You know how everything just goes around in a circle. I've been emphasizing the fact that we've come full circle, coming back to the birthplace of trucking radio. We're within walking distance of the old studios at WWL. What I'm getting at is that back in the early 80s, when deregulation, when the Motor Carrier Act of 1980 came along, and Rick Gobbell's going to talk about that a little bit later this morning. Cabotage was a thing, and I had to look it up. Everybody had to look it up, but cabotage was a parcel of our maritime rules at the beginning of the country, because it was a maritime thing at first. And then it became a trucking thing. So yeah, all of a sudden, cabotage is going to be the stepchild of the English-speaking thing. You get what I'm saying? It'll be the next phase, because you're not supposed to run from San Francisco to Chicago if you came out of Mexico or Canada.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do another pickup. And that's basically the core of it, right? I mean, it's like basically you're supposed to be here and you're supposed to get out. If you pick up another load along the way, we don't have a little discussion with you. That's basically the thrust, right?
Right. You can pick up a load and go home.
Yeah.
But you can't pick up a load and go somewhere else in the U.S.
Yeah.
So you do have to go home, and you can't stay here.
So yeah, watch out for that to be the next big thing again, but it's going to circle back to the 70s too, but it was more prevalent.
You just want to go back to the 70s.
Yeah, the 70s were such a. The more I think about the 70s, the less I want to think about the 70s.
I was born in the wrong era.
Yeah, let me tell you what.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
oh my God!
Yeah.
Jami, we got to float you, dude. We're going to be moving through this like a freight train. We're going to get you on longer. We're going to get you on during Road Gang Radio as well. But tell people where they can check out the big stories you got coming up this week.
Hey, yeah. Cruise on over to landline.media, and you really want to, especially on this cabotage thing, because we have the best editorial cartoon. It features a Buford T. Justice, so it's on our website. You have to go see it. It's hilarious. But landline.media is where you can find us online. We also have a YouTube channel that you can check us out on, and we stream on every major podcast service as well, so you can check that out.
Thank you, Jami Jones. Thank you for being part of the first guest of the second hour of Nemo Nation. We love you. We can't wait to talk to you some more. Thank you, boo.
Thank you, Jami.
Right. Love you guys.
All right. Nemo Nation, by the way, is rapid fire. It keeps them coming. It keeps it at a pretty rapid pace here. We got another guest coming up here in the moment. Dre, who we got on the phone? Who's joining us? Who's happening?
Oh, man. Y'all better gobble it up.
Gobble it up, man. He's here, man. Rick Gobbell in the house. Say good morning to Dave Nemo on Nemo Nation, Gobbell.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Rick. Good to have you on our new platform, man, where we are everywhere all at the same time, and it's pretty cool. So,
well, yeah, you and I talked about that, and we're both kind of excited about it. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing, and look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. We were talking about the fact that trucking radio started in 1971, just across the neighborhood here in New Orleans, and we're back here in New Orleans again, kind of circling back. And you and I really, we both worked when we were in high school and college and everything, but our first real career job for me was 1972 when I joined Charlie on the Road Gang when I came back from the Army. You started your career in 72 as well.
I sure did. I went to work for the old Tennessee Public Service Commission here in Tennessee. We were 13 of us across the state that was responsible for doing truck inspections on the side of the road, just like they're doing them today, or very similar to what they're doing today. And, you take 13 people in Tennessee, and I think now they're up to about 200 or 300 officers that do those same inspections that we did.
Wow.
So, but, in 1972, when I went to work for the Tennessee Public Service Commission, which later that function was moved to the Tennessee Department of Safety, but I wasn't there then. I'd gone on to the Interstate Commerce Commission. But, we only had about 300,000 trucking companies nationwide. Mm-hmm. The Interstate Commerce Act applied to the trucking industry. It started back in the 1940s with some safety regulations, but they only had a few federal safety investigators, and they weren't able to do too much because there wasn't that many of them, too many trucking companies, and states got into that business. They started requiring authority to operate intra-state, and they started setting up establishing some roadside safety inspections. And of course, that's where it's blossomed. That's where the seedlings were planted for what we have today. And today we just got a massive bureaucracy that regulates the trucking industry and does the roadside inspections on the side of the road. So it's really grown from 300,000 trucking companies since 1980 when we deregulated the trucking industry. There was about 300,000 at that time. Today there's 1.3 million different trucking companies in the United States of America, and that's amazing. That just tells you the growth of the trucking industry. Now, what's that now? That's 45 years. So I expect it to continue to grow. I expect the number of trucks on the highway to continue to grow. There'll be changes here and there, but I think that we're going to see the trucking industry like it is for probably the rest of my and your life and on beyond.
That's a 400% increase in the number of companies over that time period. 400%.
That's right.
To go from 300,000 to 1.3 million, that's over 400%. That is really amazing. And the other thing is, too, it's amazing, you deregulate an industry, which means you have to create a vast bureaucracy to take care of the deregulation. I mean, that's what's crazy about it, in the sense that once you deregulate, you allow a lot more people into the market, but then you've got to have a whole bunch more people regulating the people who are coming into the market. So it's kind of, doesn't matter which way you go, you're going to increase the bureaucracy. It's just one of those realities, right?
Yeah, it is. And, the difference in trucking, and let's look at the airline, for example, the Federal Aviation Administration, they have a huge number of employees. They have nothing like the number of trucking companies that we have in the trucking business. Now, we have established the MCSAP, the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program, and we have funded state roadside inspectors to do what the federal inspectors used to do, and there's still some federal inspections, but not many. 99% of them are conducted by the states under the FMCSA MCSAP program. So I forget, they publish a number of MCSAP officers across the country, but it's a very large number of MCSAP officers, and about $500 million a year of funding comes from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to the state agencies to conduct these inspections. Are we better off? Well, I think we're better off. We got to have regulations. If we didn't, as I used to say when I worked for Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, they say, "How's that carrier's doing?" I said, "They're acting as if there's no regulations. Drivers are driving. Yeah, drivers are driving from will to won't and can to can't. They're not qualifying their drivers. The drug tests are not being conducted. So we have all kind of problems. And what is it? They said that one guy said one time, said, our safety performance is so bad, we run over everybody we can find. We just about run out of people to run over. We started running over ourselves." That guy saying that, it was based on a wreck where two of their trucks was getting up there near Cincinnati, Ohio, that long hill that goes into Cincinnati, that downgrade going into Cincinnati. One of them slowed down, the other run over. When we were out there, we tell a story about another trucking company that run over everybody they could find. They finally run out of people to run over, and they lost control of one up there around Maryville, Tennessee one time, went across a vacant lot and run over a hitchhiker sleeping in the lot.
Good Lord have mercy.
Rick, it's not funny. It's not funny, but I think we're doing as a whole better. I'm disappointed with still the large number of fatality crashes we have every year in the trucking industry, even though most of them are not the truck driver's fault. Most of them are not the trucking company's fault. But we're still having a lot of crashes, and we've done everything. And I say we. I tell this story. I was talking to one of my old counterparts not too long ago that's still with the agency, and I asked the question. I said, "Why do we do this?" And she said, "Well, Rick, you ain't we no more." I said, "Well, I must be. Y'all send me a check every month." So they didn't think that was near as funny as I did. But
I thought it was pretty cute.
We thought it was pretty funny. Rick, we got about 2 minutes left here on this rapid fire half hour. I wanted to ask you really quickly, too. How do you think when they start enforcing the English proficiency here in a couple of weeks, do you have any thoughts on the best way to go about doing this to make sure it's a consistent and objective? Because it is important, but people want to make sure it's done right. What are your thoughts on that? You got about 2 minutes, and then we got to swap over.
Well, yeah, I'm not for that. I don't know that there's been anything established that says that somebody who cannot speak English is unsafe to drive a truck. Now, what are you going to do down there on the border with all those truck drivers come over every morning? Every morning they come across. I've been down there at Otay Mason, some in border crossings when I was with the agency. Those guys cannot speak a word of English, and we got all those federal people and state people out there doing the inspections every morning. And, I don't know. I don't like it. It's too subjective. It's going to be a real problem.
Rick Gobbell, of course, has joined us this morning. He's actually going to come on a couple of times over the course of the next few months, too, in the longer form on Nemo Nation and the end of the show. We're looking forward to that as well. Rick, thank you for joining us on the first Nemo Nation, brother. I miss you. I haven't talked to you in a while. It's so good to have you on. Thank you for being part of Dave's new adventure.
My pleasure, guys. Be safe out there.
All right.
Thank you, Rick.
Rick Gobbell, of course. We love talking to him. Hey, really quickly, Dre, who do we got next, man? I think I know who it is, right?
Ooh, tell me who you think it is.
I think it's Dean Croke.
Oh, I think it's Dean Croke.
Dean Croke in the house. Welcome to Nemo Nation, Dean Croke. What's going on?
Sounds like he's in the house right now. Sounds like he's in the truck right now. Hey, Dean.
Don't croak.
Yeah, good morning. No, I got back from Madison, Wisconsin late Saturday night, but I'm in a taxi heading to the airport now. So a little bit of background noise. Apologies. Show's going great, right?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, man. And like I said, you and I are going to get a chance to talk. You're going to be a regular contributor, as we've talked about on Road Gang Radio. But we wanted to bring you on this first thing, too, because we got the 3 magic questions. What important happened last week? What's important happening now? And how can we find out about it?
So last week, of course, was ATH Fest in Madison, Wisconsin. That was the big event, I think, in the trucking industry. I don't know anywhere else you can see 125 years of trucking industry in one place.
Except in Dave Nemo's face. I'm just going to say that right
now. There is that. I just thought it was wonderful, Jimmy Mack, to meet all these new people, what's the logistics behind it, see everything from, the trucks that pull the Saturn space rockets, all the way through to brand new trucks that are loaded with freight for delivery, today. So you saw everything there, and of course it's a great opportunity to catch up with a lot of people. So I just thought it was, I did the 3,000 miles out there and back. I was out there for the entire week. I'll go anywhere in the country. And, what really got to me was the fact that people drove from Washington State, drove from California. The CEO of a large distribution company in Denver, Colorado was parked next to me. Him and his wife drove over. He's the CEO of a company, but still passionate about driving his show trucks. So I just thought it was amazing to see the whole cross-section. To me, it was the heart of the trucking industry right there in one place last week.
Dennis Chapman, 3.5, was with us on the show just a little bit earlier. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to meet there, but he was up there in Madison. And I meant to ask him, and I didn't have a chance. When I ask you, we kind of know how many trucks were there, but how many golf carts were there this year? Do you know?
I counted. It felt like when I saw the trailers unloading them, it's somewhere like, I'm going to say 250 to 300. But that's kind of a guess. But what you don't see, Dave, is all of the private customized golf carts.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, the 2-seaters, the 6-seaters, the one with flashing lights. They have some. You see some nice show trucks, but I'm always fascinated by the tricked out golf carts that people bring in their trailers or motorhomes.
I know.
Yeah.
It's too funny.
Yep.
A lot of, the trucks are one thing, of course, but the ATHS, it's also the conference as well. So did you go to any of the sessions? They had a lot of seminars and things.
Yeah, that's the other part, is you learn things like the history of international engines. I was more fascinated with watching Dave Schnauz's from Clark Transport. He had an oil field truck with one of those. It's an oil field truck that unloads, loads and trailers with a winch. I'd never seen one in operation before. And they did a demonstration out in the parking lot on Saturday and Friday mornings for everybody to watch. And I thought that was really good, not just to have the inside workshops, but the outside hands-on workshops. I thought that was the best part. And just learning things about, Dave, you know about the old-fashioned electric sanders that, drop sand down in front of your wheels. I didn't really know about that until I saw a bunch of trucks with it and got to talking to some guys. And, of course, they tell me, well, it's actually still used, even though it's on all the old trucks. So I think it was just one of those events where there's an infinite amount of things you could learn about the trucking industry if you're passionate and you care enough.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And I have to tell you, by the way, it's one of those things where what you do out there with all the filming that you do and all the kind of man on the street stuff that you kind of try to put together, it's almost the best way to kind of enjoy those events, Dean, is to actually enjoy them, to not try to do everything, because it becomes overwhelming, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was interesting to me, Mac. I had a director's chair with a canopy, and I parked myself at various spots where I could get the best rolling action of the drivers coming in. So I spent most of the time sort of just watching and observing, because that's sort of the thing that I'm doing there. But what was really good was I had some industry legends like Billy Baker and Justin Lang and Mike Plock come up to me and say, thank you for the videos you do. It means a lot to us because we were able to watch this event 2 days before we got there, and we could see it all unfolding. So it kind of gives life to an event outside of the event. And I think that's what a lot of people really appreciated, because it's sensory overload when you get there, because there are so many trucks to look at. You kind of lose perspective of how unique each one is, because there's just so many of them to take in.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that I have that feeling sometimes, even when I'm at Matt's and go over to their little show floor, when the ATHS has the show floor of things. Even that sometimes I can't figure out where to focus. I can't even imagine the overwhelming feeling that Dave had at York, that you had at Madison, and this is the kind of thing where, do you see it getting so big? And I'm curious about this. Do they have a map? Did they provide you guys with a map of like where everything was, or any sort of app in place yet?
Yeah, they did. They had a wonderful full-colour brochure of everything that was going on. John Gravely and the team at ATHS did a wonderful job, both with live streaming of the event, their apps, the pre-event publications that they put out. There was no ending to the amount of information we had on how to enjoy the entire experience.
They have a lot of folks, too, like Flatbed Red, a lot of the folks around them. They have a lot of people that volunteer time, and just like you, just have created a real document of not just the past, but of the present. This kind of, it's like a living museum, and it's a living museum that's also kind of substitutes as a family reunion, as 3.5 said as well. It's a lot of friends, and a lot of young people are beginning to show up at these things now, too, from a lot of the pictures I've seen. Would you see that?
Yeah, I think what it does is that it gives you a sense of history, because there's a saying that if you don't understand history, there's a good chance, you'll repeat it and make some of those same mistakes. So for me, it puts into context what we've all been talking about on the show this morning, all of the things that are going on in the industry. And it's fascinating that, the more things change, the more they stay the same, is an old saying, but I don't think it's ever been more true when you get to a truck show like that and you meet all of the people that make this industry work. Not a lot has changed from the drivers of the 70s and 80s through to my generation today. Trucks have changed, regulations have changed, but at the centre of it all, we're still really hard-working people that just love our industry.
Dean, we got to wrap it up here, because this is, as you know, as we talked about. Dean, by the way, is one of the people who helped come up with this format, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
And it's going to be making a real contribution over the next coming weeks and then beyond that as well. Dean, my friend, get to the airport, get wherever you're going, get safe, and keep us in the loop.
All right, thanks, guys. Love the show.
Thank you. Dean Croke, everybody.
Dat guy, by the way.
Yeah, that
got
guy.
2.5 million miles under his belt as a truck driver as well. We'll be
Grumpy
right back
Pete.
after these messages. Hold on tight. Mike Lutzenkirchen's coming up. Important stuff, guys. Important stuff on Nemo Nation. By the way, go to truckdown.com. Get up, and get down.
The music is good. Check out the new over-the-top lineup at participating Country Pride and Iron Skillet restaurants. 3 gigantic sandwiches loaded with flavor. Try the chicken parm stack, the big country combo, or the ultimate smash melt. The ultimate smash melt. 2 delicious smash burger patties, surrounded by 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. 2 sandwiches in 1. Visit your favorite Country Pride or Iron Skillet restaurant and come hungry.
Available for dine-in only at participating Country Pride and Iron Skillet restaurants inside TA or Petro Travel Centers.
The mission of Wreaths Across America is unwavering, remembering our fallen heroes, honoring those who are currently serving, along with their families, and most importantly, teaching the next generation about the value of freedom. And you can join our mission with a $17 donation that sponsors a fresh Maine Balsam Remembrance Wreath. Each wreath will be laid in honor of a veteran who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. To sponsor your wreath, please visit wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Pittsburgh Power's Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst is proven to reduce soot by over 60%. Now, soot is enemy number 1 to your emission system, and soot hurts your bottom line, too. Pittsburgh Power's Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst will significantly reduce emissions-related downtime expenses and check engine lights. No other product can come close when it comes to reducing soot and trouble in your emissions components. Spend more time on the road. Pittsburgh Power, making drivers smile since 1977. Visit pittsburghpower.com for more info.
In trucking, financial security and retirement isn't a guaranteed destination. That's why Truckers Wealth is here. A financial hub designed for you, Truckers Wealth combines expert advice and tailored solutions. Tax-free wealth plans grow your nest egg. Guaranteed income retirement accounts provide stability, and no market risk accounts protect your investments. That's hard-earned money, a steady stream of income, reliable growth. That's a retirement. That's a destination worth investing in. That's Truckers Wealth. Truckers-wealth.com. Experts dedicated to your success.
Woo, live from the Crescent City and coast to coast online, it's Nemo Nation, your highway home for conversation, stories, and the spirit of the road. Here is Dave Nemo and Jimmy Mack.
Are broadcasting live from the Fastport studio at the Degas House. Fastport, by the way, solves America's toughest recruiting and workforce challenges through research, technology, and people. From registered apprenticeships to veteran readiness, learn more at fastport.com or nationalapprenticeship.org. We'll get that music out of here, Dre, and we're we'll slide our good friend Dave Harrison, who's calling from Fastport. Good morning to you, Dave. How are you?
Hello, everybody at Radio Nemo.
Dave Harrison, good morning. Dave Nemo here. Thank you so much, brother, for being with us on this first day.
Well, I don't want to throw you off your programming, but I was listening in, and I wanted to call in and tell you that I want to thank all of you for everything you've done and everything you're about to do for the future, and wish you a blessed and great journey. I'm excited about the future, and you guys sound great.
Well,
you're doing great
you,
work, and what you do to bring to the world what is the most important thing to the supply chain, to everyone, and bring exposure to that is so important and so needed. I appreciate every one of you, and you're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Dave Harrison, everybody of Fastport, who's been a real friend of the show.
Absolutely.
Real friend of the show. You got a chance to meet him for the first time just recently, right?
No, we've known each other for some time, yeah, but we don't get to see each other very
you
often.
see each other very often.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Oh, we go way back. Dave and I go way back to Matt's and way back to Gats. Back early days, Hunt's Heroes. Probably 2014, I think.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Radio spot with Dave.
I know what I'm actually doing here. Because it was the first chance he had gotten to go to one of the Hiring Our Heroes events. Was the thing. And you got a chance to, because he was the one that went there, you got a chance to show him up close and personal how all that stuff works.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of what I call, just like the awakening. It was Dave's awakening. He had that moment of like, wait a minute, there's a lot of really groovy stuff going on here. I need to get out there more. So you're the beginning of Dave actually hitting the road and going to stuff like Stem to Stone, coming to Washington, D.C. for us. That trip really changed Dave's trajectory about getting back on the road.
It sure did.
Well, those things are fun. Those things are great, and those things will change your life.
Are you on the road right now? Are you on the road right now, Dave?
I'm home, which is unusual, as you know.
Well, it means you're above us, by the way, though. You're directly above us, because if I know where you live and you know where we are, man, we actually are closer than ever, my friend, as opposed to California and distant countries. We are actually in the same neck of the woods. And by the way, my mom and dad's grandson, my nephew Jack, is now a Razorback. I thought you might be interested in knowing that. He actually goes to...
I did not know that. We will have to compare notes about exactly where off the air.
Yeah, so, fantastic.
That Ryan, did you know that?
Yeah, we got it.
Thank you, by the way, my brother. It's good to hear your voice. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, have a great day. You sound fantastic. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Dave Harrison, thank you, man.
This is another friend of our show here, by the way. Mike Lutzenkirchen is the founder and executive director of the Lutzie 43 Foundation. He has been on the show before. And Dave, I want Mike to kind of describe what Lutzie 43 is. Because he came on a while back and he was so moving, and he's got such an important thing to say. And in many ways, we always try to focus on safety around here for everybody that makes their living on the highway, for everybody who is going someplace where they love people on the highway. This is a guy you got to talk to. Mike, thanks for being on the first Nemo Nation with us. Good morning to you, sir. How you been?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. Congratulations on the new platform and the impact you're going to make through this new platform. But I'm actually calling you in from Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm attending the Truckload Carriers Association conference. And just to give you the quick background, I'm originally out of Chicago, but been living in Marietta, Georgia for the past 28 years, blessed to a beautiful woman I've been married to 40 years and 4 wonderful children. My only boy, Philip, was our 3rd child. Philip went on to play football at Auburn University as a high school All-American from 2009 to 2012. Had a short run in the NFL, curtailed because of injuries, but unfortunately at age 23, Philip joined a group of friends at a farm back in 2014, and Philip and the driver lost their lives in a single-vehicle crash that occurred at 2:30 in the morning. He had a large platform plan at Auburn for what he did off the field in addition on the field, and we created the Lutzie 43 Foundation. Last name Lutzenkirchen, Auburn fan base nicknamed Philip Lutzie, he wore 43. And our quest is quite simple. We're trying to reduce or eliminate the number of fatalities due to poor behaviors on roadways. And that's what the Lutzie 43 Foundation is all about.
Go ahead, Dave.
Before we launch into the 100 days of summer, and you've got a beautiful piece that folks can download. It explains what's going on and why it's going on. I was born. You're from Wheaton. You know Joliet is just south of you up there?
I sure do.
Well, that's my hometown.
Playing them in sports.
Yeah, that's my hometown.
Okay. Yeah, there's got a lot of God winks all throughout the day, aren't there?
Yeah.
Right now, Mike, you guys are really kind of making sure that people understand that there are, as it says, 100 deadliest days of summer. That there's a window here for people to be really aware, for people to be very, very present and accountable for their actions while they're out on the road. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys are pushing right now? I mean, the overall mission we understand, but you guys always focus on particular things at particular moments. Talk to us about what's going on right now.
Yeah, so I got to give credit to the AAA Foundation, National Safety Council, NHTSA, and all these other great organizations that are also roadway safety stakeholders. But they've come up with coin the phrase, the deadliest 100 days of summer, which runs from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day. That's when we'll see a spike in teenage fatalities. Distracted driving continues to be a leading death of teenage drivers and passengers, but we'll have the teens on the roads more driving in kind of more relaxed atmosphere because they're not in the school year. They're out later at night and so forth. So there's just a lot of focus put on the driving community. Say, let's be extra cautious during this 100 deadliest days of summer. You know, we're pretty consistent throughout the year. We get a request through our 43 Key Seconds initiative to speak ahead of high school proms and homecoming, return to school, spring breaks, Halloweens, and so forth. But I think it might be good to share with your audience. The conversations I'm having up here at the Truckload Carrier Association meetings are with C-suite people that are driving the trucking community. And I think they're all doing a very wonderful job in educating and holding their truck drivers accountable to the safety protocols they've created to make sure they get from point A to point B safe and back home to their families at night. But where we find a gap in what we're doing through Philip's story in life and the creation of 43 Key Seconds, there's a wonderful opportunity to improve the amount of impact you're taking from your road safety protocols for your commercial drivers and making sure every other employee that doesn't drive a company vehicle for a living benefits from it. They're all driving to and from offices or sales reps to client sites. And what we find is most companies have not taken that investment in driver safety and say, hey, let the people in accounting, HR, social media, warehouses, inventory, legal, let them benefit from our investment there. And then what we're really excited about, which is starting to take some traction, is most companies aren't then saying, hey, let's go a step further. Let's make sure all of our employees can take our road safety protocol programs home to their driving age family members. And that's where we see this big push into corporate social responsibility. And, you know, I truly believe most companies, the majority of companies, are philanthropic in nature and want to give back in the areas that they choose to support, and certain great causes like breast cancer awareness and Alzheimer's research and Wounded Warrior Project. But most of them also want to get back to their communities. And what no better way to do that than starting out with the family members of all your employees.
Wow, that's such an obvious approach, Mike, but nobody's done it.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting when you're talking to these C-suite people here at this conference, so I'm getting to meet for the first time. We're somewhat an outlier up here. We're exhibiting, and there's maybe one other nonprofit up here, and people come over and they see, my girls always kid me that I always have our circular 43 on. I lost my only son. It was my best friend. My girls know I say that. They respect why I say that because it's a father-son relationship. I've got an incredible relationship with my daughters, but they come over and say, what is this 43? Why do you use those orange and blue colors? Are you a Chicago Bears fan? Which I am, but no, these are Auburn's colors. What does that key mean? What is 43 key seconds? And what we've done, guys, we've created this countdown that says before you start your vehicle, no matter what you're driving, what your experience is, where you're driving, and what time of day, you ask yourself, do I have a clear head, clear hands, clear eyes? And then we do tie into the 20-year program of click it or ticket by saying click it. And not to take you through the whole thing, but what is it? What is it? A young driver is a 15-year-old getting their permit to a 16-year-old to college to a 65 and older driver. Say, what does it clear mean? It means you ask yourself, am I drug impaired, alcohol impaired? Am I fatigued? Am I technology impaired, or am I emotionally impaired? And if you answer positively to any one of those, you got to have the common courtesy to your own self to step back and say, I'm not prepared to drive. To protect your fellow passengers, to protect other drivers, and protect the growing number of pedestrian and bicycle crashes and accidents and deaths that are occurring. We think if people will adhere to 43 key seconds, it's going to improve the behavior of driving decisions.
You know, Mike, one of the things, spreading out like that is essential. Truckers Against Trafficking really did that too, in terms of spreading the awareness and spreading the reach. But I wanted to circle back to something too that isn't mentioned very often, but there's a group, and I know you're familiar with SAD, Students Against Distracted Driving. And one of the things that they pointed out, this is a couple of years ago, and you mentioned the AAA Foundation. We have those folks on the air fairly regularly, and we went through this report that said a lot of kids in school, high schools especially, they sleep with that cell phone or smartphone under their pillow. They're constantly being woken up because of FOMO, fear of missing out. So that by the time, and I know we're talking about the 100 days of summer here, but those phones keep going, year round. But especially when they're in school, they're tired by the time they get behind the wheel to drive to school in the morning. Is that something that is that something you guys focus on as well? It's sort of an adjunct to actually, well, how are you driving? Are you being safe? Are you getting rest?
Are you actually making sure that you talk about the idea of having that clean head, clean head, clean hands, clear eyes? Or you guys have programs that focus on making sure people, when they're not in the car, are doing the things they're supposed to do to put themselves in a place where they can get behind the wheel successfully?
Yeah, we do, and I'd answer that by, I know, Dave, you and I are probably similar in age. I tell my kids all the time when I forget to take my phone to Home Depot or something, I said, it's not the end of the world. I was raised without a phone in the car. We can get by. It's pretty amazing if you have faith. It's amazing some of the conversations you can have with whoever you believe in when you're disconnected. And so I'm constantly encouraging kids to say it's okay to not have your phone, but we address the fatigue thing. I'll tell you the other thing we're very proud of. In Georgia, we've got an incredible relationship with Russell McMurray and the Department of Transportation. Russell's the commissioner. We have created a 5-hour safe driving summit. That's a licensed asset of the foundation, and it typically is a 75-minute keynote address to an all-school assembly. And then the school picks 300 or 400 kids to go through 430 impactful breakouts. And one thing that I just don't think is emphasized enough, when we talk about teenagers, at some point, if you adhere to the rules of your state, you're going to go 6 months in a graduated driver's law before you can allow to have another teen in your vehicle. And think about how impactful that first time is. Your teenage child is now got teenage friends in that vehicle. You have inexperienced drivers together without an adult. And we try to emphasize, the leader of that 4 kids, if it is in this example, might be sitting in the back seat. How that leader of those 4 teens acts is going to impact how that driver, a new driver, is going to drive. Wow. So we try to put emphasis at the teenage audience and the college audience is that you play as important role riding in that vehicle as that driver to get that vehicle from point A to point B. Now, if I get another adult in my car on a business trip and they get in and don't put a seatbelt on, I kind of give an awkward look like, you've got to be kidding me, right? Most of us adults are starting to wear seatbelts, but here's the deal. 61% of the latest statistics of road fatalities involve somebody who wasn't wearing a seatbelt. So we give a lot of focus and a lot of messages, but one thing I give to any audience, whether it's at a corporate talk, whether it's the American Trucking Association Safety and HR Conference, if there's one thing I learned is you have to wear a seatbelt. Had Philip, as a backseat passenger on that fateful late night, early morning crash, took his life, had a seatbelt on, statistically, guys, I wouldn't be on this show because my son would be alive. Now, I'm not saying he'd be 100% of the mental and physical capabilities he had prior to that crash, but we've got to wear our seatbelts. So we really hit on the teen audience. Seatbelts, their responsibility when they're driving. And this all really heightens when you get into that 100 deadliest days of summer is kids, put your seatbelts on.
It's a good place to end it, by the way. We're going to keep this conversation going. Mike, we can't thank you enough in your very busy and important schedule for making time for us on the first Nemo Nation. Please send our well wishes to Doug as well. He's a great dude and a good guy to have on your team. We really appreciate it. Where can people go to find out more?
Well, guys, we'd love you. Real quick, thank you on that comment about Doug. We were blessed to bring Doug Smith on board in a business development role about 4 weeks ago. He's already doing incredible work. We've got so many opportunities to go impact corporate America and high schools and colleges. You can learn more about our foundation at www.lutzie43. That's LUTZIE43.org. You'll learn about Philip's career, the things he did off the field for kids that had special needs or cancer and so forth. But you'll really learn what we're trying to do from drivers ages 15 to 65 and older to make an impact so other families don't get that Post-it note or the knock on the door that said you've lost a child.
Thank you, my friend. It's good talking to you. He was great on the show before, Dave, and he was an important addition to this first Nemo Nation. Please, guys, please check them out and please get involved with them. We got some great friends over there, and they are genuinely doing the Lord's work. Speaking of the Lord's work, by the way, I want to make a shift over here and give a big shout out to our friends over at ShadyRays.com. They are one of our sponsors here. Go to ShadyRays.com and get your lost and broken protection program in place. Remember, if you lose or break them, Shady Rays has got your back. That's ShadyRays.com. And really quickly, we can talk with Elisabeth Barna about this, Dave. You had a question about medium-sized coffees, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, is Elisabeth there?
Is Elisabeth here?
I don't know. Are you?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, I did my job. Hey.
But where are you here?
Hey, Elisabeth. Good morning. Welcome to Nemo Nation.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for being had.
Oh, Dave.
That sounded like Jackie Mason might have said.
By the way, it's Jackie Mason's birthday today. What is it? I'm going to go steal a television set. That's one of the funniest routines I've ever heard in my life. Remind me to tell you about that in the wake of the Los Angeles riots. Okay, really quickly, Elisabeth Barna is here. You have a question, Dave, you want to ask her, though, about coffee.
Okay, if you wanted a small, medium, or large coffee at a coffee shop, how would you ask for that? Would you ask for the small, medium, or large, or would you ask for it in the language that they have put up on their board?
There's only one right answer.
That's not true. Elizabeth?
Did we lose her?
I would ask for small, medium, or large.
Okay.
Good for you.
There's the right answer.
Good for you. Good for you.
So we have a place here in New Orleans, and it's a small chain, but I think it's local. It's called French Press. Really good, great coffee, good sandwiches and soups and stuff, salads, and everything's in French. So you have small as petite, and medium is moyen, MOYEN. And I always get a medium thing at a coffee shop, and half the time I'll say medium, and I've always often wondered what the people working behind the counter think when you ask in the like, is he going to say medium or is he going to say moyen?
I'm just going to say large and leave it at that. Elizabeth, I have to tell you, this is the prep work for Nemo Nation. This is what we did on Saturday.
I got Starbucks right here.
He's got Starbucks stories you wouldn't believe. Yeah. Elizabeth Barna, how you doing? Welcome to Nemo Nation.
I am doing great. Thank you, guys. Great show. I've been listening. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, let me get the ball rolling here. So what are you working on now? What were you tracking last week? And what are you looking forward to this week? We'll just kind of throw you in the deep end.
Oh, my gosh. There's so much going on in the trucking world between drivers and technology, Congress and what they're doing. I guess one of the biggest things that is happening is that Congress approved the congressional resolutions that will roll back, the advanced clean truck rule coming out of California, so that 75% of the Class 8 trucks sold in this state that were supposed to be zero emissions by 2035 is being rolled back, which will also affect other states that were sort of following suit. So that's good news, since we won't be able to get those all rolled back in time, and was sort of a mandate that wasn't really necessary. So I think that was a big victory for trucking for right now, at least.
It might be actually another victory for California small businesses as well, because a lot of people in the wake of that had picked up their... I mean, I can tell you, I know people who literally had trucking companies right around the border of Southern California and Arizona, who just literally had either picked up and already left too late. But there are other people who were thinking about, as that deadline got closer, as all that kind of technology demand got closer, we're really in that terrible position of, as an owner-operator, or as a small business, do I pick up and then move across state lines? And a lot of those folks might stick around now. So there may be, and it looks like California isn't going to go to the mattresses to fight it either. if that makes
Right.
any sense. And they're not
Well,
going to, they got other things they're worried about right now,
A little bit like the independent contractor role when a lot of the independent contractors moved out of California. But it also, I know in Washington State, they were offering incentives, and the trucking companies were saying, we don't want incentives, we don't want the rule. So it's not about money. It's about being able to get the equipment and make those changes and mandates. So I think that was one big thing. I think a couple weeks ago, Aurora, it was putting humans back in the driver's seat, not driving their driverless trucks, but actually putting a human in the seat, which I think is good on a lot of different fronts, but especially for the image of the industry, I think that does a lot to show that, there is a professional driver, that that job is not going to be obsolete. And so I think that was something that was a big deal. And then I think on the driver recruiting and retention front, I read something where Ace Driving Academy in Waco, Texas, said that 45% of their recent CDL grads were Gen Zs, and that those, are 1997 to 2012 is that Gen Z area, but that was, incredible since the average driver age is really 46, and so that folks are starting to turn, at least in Waco, to truck driving as a career option and looking for stability. Which I thought was interesting.
About 10 years ago or so, ATRI was putting out numbers like the average age of someone in truck driving school was like 40, 45, 46 years old. Yeah.
As opposed to the graying out of
Right.
the industry,
Yeah.
you started to see that.
Do you think, and it's been my contention too, that if these kids, and I'm talking about high school kids,
these newfangled
if these
kids,
kids,
with these
if they
kids.
knew,
We can all use kids now.
I remember a trucking executive telling me about 20 years ago, well, there are 6 computers under the hood of this truck. And it's like, wait a minute. Those 6 computers have like 100 computers telling them what to, in other words, it is a cyber world when you pop the hood of a truck and then go into the cab, and so do you think kids are getting the what's the key here to get these kids in? Is it the message that, wait a minute, these trucks are super high tech and they're even at CES now in Vegas? I mean, there's a whole trucking section.
Oh, I got
CES.
pictures of those. When Brad and I went to CES, there's some new, like I said, there is some stuff that is really groovy. And I'm wondering, you talk about recruitment, Elisabeth, the idea that we were, Tim Ashoff gave Dave and I a call a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the idea that, in order to have retention in trucking, you need to give people the money they need to make a living. You need to give them the time they need to enjoy that living. But then you've also got to give them the equipment they need to actually get the job done comfortably and well, so that their pillar-to-post drive is actually physically comfortable and manageable. And I'm wondering, as Dave is asking, do you think that that the technology aspect is what's maybe getting us a little bit of traction with Gen Z into the industry?
I do think that. I think a lot of, with working with drivers, the younger driver is much more excited about what's inside the truck and the telematics, what type of equipment they have, what's going to make their job easier, what they can find on an app. I also think that not having debt, college tuition, is a big deal. I think that trucking companies today realize how important home time is. But one of the biggest things that a carrier can do or a shipper can do is communication, and have an open communication and transparency. And I think that's where a lot of companies today, especially during this economic uncertainty and these low rates and all, are losing the boat, is by not being transparent and not being visible.
Wait, Elisabeth, are you telling me that actually telling potential and current employees the truth about what's going on might be best practices? I can't believe it. I lie to Dave all the time, and it's worked out incredibly well for me. I don't understand what it is you're talking. The other thing is, it's really kind of cool with like a lot of these trade school programs that you literally have people. I've met people who are getting their CDL in an 8-week program at a community college while simultaneously taking Spanish classes. And a lot of these kids are mixing and matching. This kind of trade school energy is going on, where you have people that are building bits and pieces of a career early on and then bringing all that skill set into the industry. It's kind of an exciting time. Kind of.
It is exciting. And I think some of them are also taking, like communications or web design, or, they're doing their own podcasts or their own TikToks. And so communication to them is very, very important, and learning how to communicate. And so then the C-suite isn't communicating, or they're not, their open door policy during tough times are closed door now. And that's when drivers are starting to look for new jobs.
Oh, wow.
And thinking maybe this isn't the place for them anymore. And so, my advice for a driver is look around and don't jump just to jump. But if, there is something out there that is better, and talk to your friends before you make that jump. Talk to folks that are working there, because it always looks like the grass might be greener on the other side, but it truly may not be, I had a client at one point that a lot of drivers would jump and then they would come back. They said, oh, well, you were right, but you just have to really do your homework.
Elisabeth, new format, ferociously fast format. We're out of time here. Tell people where they can go to find out more about you if they want your services or your consultation. Do you do that anymore, or do you want to just kind of make?
I do.
Tell us quickly.
Sure.
Go.
You can email me at elisabeth.barna@eabstrat.com.
Fantastic, by the way. This is one of the smartest people in the industry, and that's the reason why we have her on the first Nemo Nation. Thank you, Elisabeth. We love you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Elisabeth.
We're going to be back on the other side of this break, of course. Lots of people coming your way. It's the first Nemo Nation, by the way. Go to fastport.com. Go to nationalapprentice.org. Go to truckdown.com. Hey, you should also go to shadyrays.com, and you should check these folks out. We'll be back on the other side of Nemo Nation.
Wait a minute. Are you running all of your rig's accessories?
All of them. You like that?
No, why would I? Your engine's turned off.
That means I ain't violating no idling laws. You like that?
No, why would I? That means you're running off your battery.
I'm running on an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, why wait. Did you say an Odyssey battery?
Odyssey battery. Rugged, maintenance-free, thin plate pure lead technology, and massive deep cycling capability. Plenty of reserve power to run onboard accessories. Engine on or off. Twice the power, 3 times the life of conventional batteries. That's an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, I don't like that. I love that. Wait a minute. The crickets stopped.
Odyssey hasn't.
Get yourself an Odyssey battery. Performance you can count on.
Want to make your diesel engine cleaner and more efficient? Pittsburgh Power's Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst can reduce your soot output by 60% and increase your thermal efficiency. Max Mileage keeps your engine and emission systems functioning at its best. Less soot means a longer engine and emission component life, drastically fewer regens, and better performance. Take the first step towards a cleaner, more efficient ride. Visit PittsburghPower.com and order your Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst today. Drive cleaner, drive smarter.
17 Sapp Brothers Travel Centers are known for great food, hospitality, and mom-approved showers and restrooms. But don't forget the service centers. Sapp Brothers ASE certified technicians can repair nearly any issue in shop or roadside, including axle repair. Dig into your free steak dinner with your oil change. That's a Sapp Brothers tradition to thank you for your business. Tires? Sapp Brothers will beat any competitor's advertised price on tires. And download the Sapp Brothers app for exclusive promotions in the shop, restaurant, and store. Your spot under the coffee pot is waiting for you at Sapp Brothers. That's Venti.
That's plenty. What we got going on, Phone Master?
Oh, man, start your engines. You're tuned in to Nemo Nation, live from the Fastport Studios in New Orleans with Dave Nemo, Jimmy Mack leading the convoy.
Hey, man, I'm glad I'm at the front of the convoy, not driving America forward, because I really don't want to be behind the wheel for America. Holy moly, guacamole. Guys, it's the first Nemo Nation, and hiccups, bumps on the road, a couple of potholes, but you know what? We like it that way, because the wheels might have come off, but we're still rolling. Big thanks to Lindsay Lawler, who actually lent her voice as we work out our musical situation here, lent her voice to the national anthem.
Yes.
By the way, just to let people know out there, there is no copyright infringement when you sing the national anthem. You know why there are no knock-knock jokes about America, right, Dave?
Why are there no knock-knock jokes about America?
Because freedom rings, baby. Freedom rings.
Did you just make that up?
No, I've had that one in my back pocket for a long time. One of my
like
other
it.
favorites is the meme of the eagle looking directly at the at the camera, I guess, and it says, "I heard that Titan, which is a moon of Saturn, has more oil than any place on Earth." Sounds like Titan could use some freedom. By the way, would you like to introduce our next guest? Because this is Groovy Von Groovestein right here.
Alex Nino is with us, and if you are one of the almost 2 million folks who follow him.
Make it more. There's more
the
people
web.
out there. Just love him, dude. People are just rallying to this guy, man.
If you're part of the 2 billion folks that follow
675 quadrillion people in the known universe have come to Alex Nino. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Nino.
Well, let's bring Alex on right now. Hey, Alex, good morning. Get me out of this. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Nice to meet you guys.
Oh, same here. Where are you right now?
Right now I'm in my office.
Okay, but I meant
I'm in California at the moment.
Okay, wait a minute. Back in the early days of the Road Gang, all night radio, we did requests from home for the drivers out on the road. Music requests, and when someone would call, we would say, "Well, where are you calling from?" Boston, New Orleans, San Francisco, and one lady answered like you did. "Where are you calling from?" "My house."
Yeah, the trucking industry this year has been really, really slow for some reason, so there hasn't been that much work. But today I'm actually taking off to South San Francisco tonight.
By the way, and that's a bit of it. So where in California? You haven't got to give us your address. Don't worry. Where in California are you right now?
In the Central Valley.
Oh, okay. So my wife and I live in Santa Clarita. Just to kind of give you a sense, I'm down here in New Orleans setting up the studio, so I know a lot of the neck of the woods of which you speak, and I'm glad you're going to get back on the road. Alex, let's just jump right into this, by the way. What was the tipping point when you went from some dude who was just posting about what you were doing, excited about what you were doing, and suddenly waking up one morning and go, who let all these people into my feed? When did that happen for you?
So it started happening in 2020 during COVID. I was actually just making videos in the back of my truck, making like Mexican skits. You're Mexican when, you're Mexican if your parents have done this before. And I would always be in the back of my truck. And people would always be like, dude, why does it look like you're in a spaceship? Where are you? Or like, where do you live in a truck? Do you live in a van? Like, where do you live? So everyone was always super curious about it. And I managed to gain a couple 100,000 followers from doing those skits. And then it kind of just started getting really dry, and the views were getting down. And I remember reaching out to one of my friends that was doing the same skits. He's like, "Bro, why don't you do like trucking videos?" And I was like, "Dude, no one's gonna be interested in trucking videos." I was like, "I'm a truck driver. Like, no one wants to see that." And he's like, "Just try it out." And I tried it, and of course, the views did not do good at all. And I told him, "Look, bro, I told you like this wasn't gonna do good. No one's interested in this." So I went back to doing what I was doing, which was the Mexican skits, and it still wasn't working out. And so I remember one day I was in Sacramento, or either Sacramento or in South San Francisco, one of those two. And I was finishing up my night, and I was doing my logbook. This was before they mandated the ELDs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was showing people how I did it. And when I posted the video, like at 6 in the morning, and I woke up to it having like over 100,000 views, and I was like, what the heck? Like, this is weird. So then that same day I posted another video, and it started getting a little bit more traction because I was answering questions of what people were telling me in the comments. So then I think it started to reach a certain audience that I was looking for. And then from there, it went from like 300,000 followers within, I would say, a year. I got to 1 million. And then once I hit 1 million, 2 or 3 months later, I ended up hitting 2 million. And it just skyrocketed like crazy out of nowhere.
All right, this is the one shameless thing I'm going to do. Alex, we need your help. Nemo Nation needs your help. We're just starting this new venture ourselves. If at any point on any stream you do, you could just mention us and tell people to subscribe at YouTube. That's it, I'm done. Dave's got questions for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned COVID, because obviously that's what was going on. But COVID is such a strange thing, and it's interesting to me how COVID is going to be treated in history books, say 50 or 100 years from now. Because in my own case, and it seems like in your case too, you start something, and maybe you start it because it's COVID, but maybe you've already started something, and COVID comes along, and what COVID does, it picks it up and
the
just
great accelerant. We call it the great accelerant.
It fast forwards everything that you're doing. What we are doing right now with our new platforms and all, that was inevitable. It happened faster than it should have happened, but it happened.
Yeah.
And here we are. So COVID, do you feel the same thing about COVID having just accelerated everything around us? Not changing so much, but making it seem like a change, because what was going to happen in 6 months now happens in 6 weeks or something.
Yes, exactly. And I kind of skipped a little ahead, but me and my wife used to actually do social media back in 2017. We were trying to do like a family channel on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
This was before TikTok or Instagram was posting reels or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just trying to do family vlogs, and we ended up getting like 3,000 followers from that, from 2017 to 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stopped posting because I ended up getting fired from my job. And during that year, from like April or March up until October of 2019, I was kind of so confused and I had no idea what I was going to do. But I remember downloading TikTok because my niece had it, and I was like, this is a little kid app. Why am I going to download it? She told me to download it. And then I just downloaded it, and then COVID happened, and then, yeah, it literally just, it changed everything. And it did really, COVID did change a lot without changing a lot. And I feel like people's attention spans are so short now that with TikTok, it really just helped, like, gain traction, because it's like those quick, short videos, and it kind of like, it just keeps people's attention, like, it's really quick. So it's like the faster you do it, the more attention you get, in a sense.
That's kind of brilliant, by the way. That's kind of, like I said, you know, it's tough to kind of unpack this because it all happens so fast. We're still trying to make sense of it. But that's kind of spot on. Alex, our format demands that we kind of race through time and space at the blink of an eye. We're going to have you back on at some point. But please tell people where they can find you. Please tell people what's going on, what you got coming up next you want people to know about. Give us a little preview. Tell us where they can get to you.
So all my social medias are Alex Nino. You can find them under Alex Nino. And I'm on Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all those. And I'm honestly, I'm kind of the person that just, I ride the wave, but I have a plan. I have a vision of what I want to do, and I know I'm going to get there. I just know it takes time. And even though I have like all this following, I still feel like I need more and more and more. So I'm like, my next goal is to hopefully hit 2 million on YouTube. Well, I will hit 2 million on YouTube, and then just continue to grow, and then grow my brand as well, because I also sell clothes, Domino's clothing. I sell clothes and hats as well, so I'm just hoping and wanting to expand my brand and hopefully get it into bigger stores to where people can access it, even truck stops and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, brother, that's a great vision, by the way, and that is a great way to kind of keep the brand going and keep people's attention. By the way, with trucking moves so fast, you've picked the perfect medium in which to get your message out. Please tell me you'll come back and join us again. We loved having you. It's just not enough time. Please, Alex, promise us you'll come back, please.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Thank you, brother. Alex Nino,
Thanks,
everybody. Great to have him, by the way.
Alex. Nino.
And you can find him everywhere on the medias that are social, by the way. And it really is charming stuff, guys, by the way. There's a lot of family stuff in there. He's actually taken everything he talked about and mixed it all into one kind of complete package. By the way, we got a guy coming on here in a second. We actually got him on now. Today's the birthday of Jackie Mason, the great Borscht Belt comedian. I have a joke from him I want to share. My grandfather always said, don't watch your money, watch your health. So one day when I was watching my health, someone stole my money. It was my grandfather. I can't think of a better person to bring on, by the way, who loves that kind of stuff. It's Dan Ronan in the house, right?
Oh, 100%.
Hey,
Mr. Ronan!
Hey, what do you say?
What do you know? It's Jackie Mason.
Do you remember?
He did a voice on a cartoon.
I'm not surprised.
I did not know that.
Which one did he do? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but it was a cartoon, 1960s or 70s era. And I remember, while we're talking, look it up, but he did a voice of a cartoon, and it was hysterical, and it was the same, I actually saw Jackie Mason in concert with a very dear friend of mine at a club in Atlanta, and he was a riot.
You know about the story about how he ended up this is a true story about Jackie Mason, that he had really hit a bad patch in his life, and he and his wife, they conceptually... They put together his old Borscht Belt routine, but his wife said, if we put it in a Broadway theater, give him an orchestra, and really put some great lights around it, we can make it into a Broadway hit. He ended up winning an off-Broadway award. It's a spoof of the Honeymooners, by the way, and the name of it is called The Honey Mousers, is the name of it.
Was that the cartoon you mean?
Yeah, it's The Honey Mousers, by the way. I
could see him doing something like that, yeah, with the old... Cramden and Ed Norton and the whole bit. Sure, I can see that.
Hey, Robbie boy.
Well, there was one. There's one in 19.
Firmly on the ground. Address the ball. Hello, ball.
Hello, ball. Get out of here. Go ahead.
Get out of here.
There was one in 1969. It was a cartoon called The Ant and the Aardvark.
That was it.
It was wait now, but here this is a testament to how good John Biner was, because that was John Biner doing Jackie Mason, and then as the Aardvark, and then Charlie, the ant, was also voiced by Barna, and he was doing Dean Martin.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I thought it was always Jackie Mason.
Well, that's how good John Biner was.
Oh, by the way, he didn't. I'm gonna make you laugh now. Go ahead, Dre. Tell him, because you're the one that looked it up.
Oh man, listen, I got confused. I'm ADD. I put in Jackie Gleason. All right, so if y'all want to know what a show that he did, that's the Honey Mousers.
By the way, the funniest impersonation I ever saw was somebody to do an impersonation of Jackie Gleason playing the role of Lee Harvey Oswald at the moment he gets shot.
Oh my God!
It's the most inappropriate. It's like, whoa.
I have a story about that, if I can indulge you with that.
Please.
I was a reporter for Dallas in many years, and I got a tour on the 40th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination with the police detective who was attached to Oswald, the guy in the tan-colored suit. You remember the guy?
Oh,
in the
yeah.
suit with the Stetson? So I got a tour of the jail. And I went into the jail and was actually in the cell where Oswald was at, and looked up, and someone wrote up on the top of the cell, L.H. Oswald slept here, ... for just a short period of time.
All right, wait a second. Hold the presses. Robert Braswell just texted me. Robert Braswell, he heads up TMC, Tech Talk with TMC. Dan is thinking of the Aardvark from Ant and the Aardvark, but that was an imitation by John Biner.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then he says, you got it.
Oh, man.
Robert Braswell, always a step ahead.
Always go when people actually try to figure out if we actually can do our job over here, Dan. I would like to think that people are listening because they support us, Dan. I think people are listening to figure out if we have anything going on over here whatsoever. We love Robert Braswell. Go ahead, Dan.
The officer, by the way, who was attached to Oswald, who was a police detective in the Dallas Police Department, on December 7th, 1941, was in the Navy stationed at Pearl Harbor, and was firing at the Japanese attack planes as they attacked Pearl Harbor. So that's number one moment in history. Number two moment in history, he was in the motorcade when Kennedy was shot. Number three, he was at the theater when Oswald got captured. And on Sunday morning,
he was attached to Oswald when Oswald got shot. This man is the Forrest Gump of law enforcement and of military history.
Holy cow.
By the way, I know you know this, Dan, but my father, when he was an assistant district attorney, actually worked for Jim Garrison. And his famous line about Garrison was, he says, you go to the Blue Room to have a drink with Garrison, and on the first round of drinks, you thought Garrison was out of his mind. By the third cocktail, you were convinced Garrison he had something. What's the great line? Have you heard about the Fair Play for Cuba Committee and its implications in the assassination of our beloved President John Kennedy? Dan, we've only got a few moments. We've actually eaten it alive with Jackie Mason talk on his birthday. What's going on? What happened last week that's important, and what are you looking forward to next week?
I want to see. This is not related to trucking, but this is related to air traffic control. I want to see where Sean Duffy goes with these plans to revitalize the nation's really old and really troubled air traffic control system. He's not kidding when he talks about how it's floppy disks and paper strips and how it really needs to be updated. It's 40, 50 years old in some cases. I want to see how Congress comes up with $25 billion to do this. Now with Elon Musk out of the picture, I want to know also about, is Starlink going to be a part of this? I mean, he's sort of fallen out of favor in the last couple of weeks, but he is a technology guy, and Starlink is a big player in this system as well, in air traffic control. So I want to see where that goes, but I think we had a reckoning here in D.C., where I live, on the 29th of January with this mid-air collision, and I want to see how Duffy pulls this off and gets the money from the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and how the airlines, they made a little progress at Newark in the last couple of weeks. They've opened up a runway. They've gotten that done, but I want to see how they get this done, and I think that's, in the transportation sector, that's going to be the big story for the summer, especially as we get more people onto airplanes and more people fly.
The other thing is, Dan, I want to keep people up on what you're doing and what you're scheming and dreaming these days. Where can people find you? Where's the action as far as Dan Ronan is concerned?
WTOP.com, and I'm also involved in that, also heard on NPR, and occasionally writing for a magazine out of the Racine, Wisconsin area called Referee, where I'm specializing on all things on sports officiating issues. As a former sports official, I'm looking at the issues concerning automated strike zones and automated balls and strikes, and those things that, as baseball fans and as lovers of the game, I want to see how that changes. And I've got a story that's coming out about ABS that'll be publishing in the next couple of days. I'm in the process of finishing it, so I'm going to look at ABS and all of these sites called like Ump Auditor that seem to always start their stories with, fans on the internet say umpire XYZ should be fired because he missed 18 calls according to Ump Auditor. Well, let me tell you something, folks. Ump Auditor is not what baseball judges its umpires on. It's not what they use. And so I wrote a 4,000-word story on that publishes in the next couple of days.
Dan, do me a favor, by the way. When it's done, send it to weekends@radionemo.com so that Tarrah,
I know the email.
So that our dear friend Tarrah can actually get it posted on our social medias as well when it comes out. Thank you, sir. It's good to talk to you, Dan, and we're going to be talking to you.
It's good to talk to you, too.
Good to talk to you as well. Hey, man, take it easy. The war's over. We'll get new parts for your head.
Dan, thanks for calling in.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan Ronan, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Dan. By the way, today's also the birthday of Johnny Depp. He was born in 1963 in Queensboro, Kentucky, to Betty Sue Palmer, who was a waitress, and John Christopher Depp, who was a civil engineer. He was raised in Florida. He dropped out of school at 15 to form a garage band called The Kids, as Elisabeth Barna likes to call them. He was a ballpoint pen salesman when he had a chance meeting with Nick Cage, who encouraged him to get in the biz. He was the youngest of 4 children. He did Nightmare on Elm Street and then 21 Jump Street. The Streets made him famous. Dave, would you care to introduce our next guest here on Nemo Nation?
The North American Council on Freight Efficiency, better known as NACFE. Mike Roeth is with us on the new platform. Mike, thanks for stepping over into the cyber world with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. I'm happy to, and congratulations on the change.
Well, we're already getting some good response. Folks are saying we're sounding good out there, so thanks for all of the help that you guys have given us through the years. And you boy, I'll tell you what, we kind of went through the messy middle here in a very small, compact way at Radio Nemo, transitioning in a very fast time schedule from radio to the rest of the world. But you're kind of stuck in the messy middle right now on the Run On Less program. The messy middle is where we are, and it's a pretty big middle, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that. Change is generally messy, and anything that's considered or even possibly something like a transformation, I mean, that's a bigger change. So there's probably a messiness to it. I mean, it's not easy to change, and with respect to where trucking is going to decarbonize, and that's a pretty long word, but basically going from using fossil fuels that have a lot of carbon. I mean, you think about it, the last 20 years we've been dealing with NOx and particulate matter emissions, and now approaching, now approaching carbon. That has real opportunities for the industry, but big challenges. So, we're right in the middle of Run On Less, our fifth one that we call Run On Less Messy Middle, and we're looking at how to improve and become cleaner and greener in long haul trucking, which is has a whole bunch of technologies that we're looking at. Just basically modern high fuel economy diesel trucks, the biodiesel, renewable diesel, natural gas, battery electric, and hydrogen. And NACFE's on the road right now, Dave. I'm in Stockton, California. It's supposed to be in the mid-90s today, but we'll be kicking the tires with Saia, the large less-than-truckload company where they have 2 Tesla semis that will be kicking tires, driving, talking to fleets, talking to drivers, talking to the maintenance people, the truck OEM, Tesla themselves will be here. And so we're in the middle of 13 of these deep dives into different solutions that major fleets are using to figure out. And they're definitely in the messy middle trying to get these new technologies to work. Last week, we were with Wegmans in upstate New York with a natural gas truck hauling double 48 trailers up to 130,000 pounds with natural gas. So, and then we were also with Pilot in SoCal last Thursday with a hydrogen fuel cell truck. So we're all over the map and having a lot of fun with it. And then Dave will be bringing our findings to the industry, really in big order in August and September.
There's a military expression called mass tack, of course, which is a massive tactical, the idea that you drop in kind of full throttle and just kind of figure out your way through it to get to the other side. And it sounds in many ways that you guys are like really kind of like literally, I don't want to say throw in the kitchen sink because, there's a plan. There is a rationale behind what you're doing, but you've really got to move quickly here because there's so many points of contact that you're trying to take care of at once because you're trying in many ways to be sort of an accelerant here. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is, and we understand and know that that logistics we can't. It's a big picture and a small picture. We can't upset logistics, right, with this messy middle. So we, as an industry, we will figure out how to get the goods to the market or wherever the goods are going. So we won't let this messy middle get in our way of doing that, which is the same for NACFE as we go in. So we tell these fleets, and we're going to come in for a day. Don't disrupt your normal operations, but we're going to come in for a day and understand how you're making these trucks work. Because for the most part, these fleets are making hydrogen trucks and battery electric trucks. I mean, I'm so excited about tomorrow. Think about Saia's business model of, long haul return to base LTL shipments, and how the hell are they going to get a battery electric truck to perform? And we're going to see tomorrow how they're making that happen, with really fast charging and a very efficient truck in making it happen. And but we know that we can't go in there and upset their day. So, yeah, it's very much like that. We're kind of helicoptering in, learning all we can in a quick period of time, and then we'll do what NACFE does. We'll put together, blogs and videos and web pages and spec sheets and help the industry understand what's going on with these early adopters.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ability to both create chaos while simultaneously staying out of the way. That's, and I don't mean that dismissively, but the idea is you've got to get in there, you've got to get that information, you've got to make sure it all kind of gets, recorded, taken care of, analyzed, and all that stuff, while still letting these people do the very important work that they have to do. So I can't even imagine the planning before you get to those places, right?
Well, it's a combination of planning. I think it was Eisenhower that said, planning, plans are no good, but planning is important, or something of that nature. And it's been his quote has been compared to the boxer that said a plan's good until you get smacked in the face. So
Mike Tyson. That's a little Mike Tyson for you right there, brother.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've done this 4 times before, and basically we've got some new players at NACFE that's helping us, but we also have some people that have been, including myself and our video team, have done this 4 times before. So we kind of understand what it is to drop in on a fleet that's busy with stuff. I mean, simple things like, stay the hell out of the way or you're going to get run over by a truck. Wear safety vests, be alert. Last week at the Pilot Flying J in Rialto, California, that place is incredibly busy, as you can imagine. And, we set up our tripods and interview a couple times in the wrong spot, and we realized it, or somebody said, hey, dude, this isn't the best place to be, and we moved quickly. So you're exactly right. It's a little inside baseball on Run On Less. So we understand it, but, man, what we'll produce out of these quick visits, I am certain will help the industry learn and figure out what technologies work for different segments now, and then which ones might be better fits down the road.
By the way, this new format, Blitzkrieg, is through. The quote is, plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. So you got the spirit of it right. Mike, thank you so much. We're going to talk with you longer form as we kind of make our way down the highways and byways, 15 minutes and then 30 minutes down the line. But it's good to have you on this first Nemo Nation. Thank you, sir.
Honored to be on the first day. Thank you, guys.
Honored to have you. Mike Roeth, everybody, who heads up NACFE, the North American Council for Freight Efficiency.
What do you say we take one more break and then bring in an old friend who we haven't talked to in a while and we're going to be really excited about? You get the long form before Pittsburgh Power shuffles into the frame. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah! That feels real Nemo Nation, doesn't it? We'll be right back after these messages. Old friend of the show, John Esparza.
Exceptional value and exceptional values. That's Bennett Trucking. A core commitment of faith, family, and freedom has driven Bennett to being the leading provider of innovative, integrated transportation solutions, both at home and abroad. Bennett's values are not just compatible with providing high-paying jobs and unmatched customer service. They're inseparable. If you're looking for an employer or a partner who believes the best business model is being a model citizen, then Bennett Trucking is the place for you. Go to BennettIG.com and find the folks who share your values.
I'm a long-haul trucker. I don't have time for nonsense. So when I fuel up, I need to get in and get going with a fuel card that takes me there. Founded in 1978 by a trucker for truckers, Multi-Service Fuel Card is run by real, honest people who are there to help us road warriors keep our freight moving. And with nationwide acceptance, fuel discounts, and dedicated customer service, no matter where I'm going with Multi-Service Fuel Card, I never roll alone. Learn more at neverrollalone.com.
17 Sapp Brothers Travel Centers are known for great food, hospitality, and mom-approved showers and restrooms. But don't forget the service centers. Sapp Brothers ASE certified technicians can repair nearly any issue in shop or roadside, including axle repair. Dig into your free steak dinner with your oil change. That's a Sapp Brothers tradition to thank you for your business. Tires? Sapp Brothers will beat any competitor's advertised price on tires. And download the Sapp Brothers app for exclusive promotions in the shop, restaurant, and store. Your spot under the coffee pot is waiting for you at Sapp Brothers.
Did you know it's extremely easy to join the Wreaths Across America mission to remember our fallen heroes, while at the same time honoring those who are currently serving our country and their families? Plus, you're helping to teach our younger generation about the value of freedom. With just one $17 donation to Wreaths Across America, you're sponsoring a fresh Maine Balsam Remembrance Wreath. They've really become a symbol of America's respect for those who bravely served and are no longer with us. To sponsor your wreath, just visit wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Oh, of the road, rolling live out of the Fastport Studios. Welcome to Nemo Nation with your trusted guides, Dave Nemo and Jimmy Mack.
Hey guys, by the way, as I told you, it is Jackie Mason's birthday. We got a chance to talk about Johnny Depp as well. There's one more person to kind of add into the conversation before we get to our final guest, before Pittsburgh Power's Pitstop. It is the birthday of a very famous guitarist, is it not, Dave?
Oh, yes, it is indeed. Les Paul was born on this date.
Les Paul. Have you owned any of his guitars?
No, they're too heavy for me.
That's the truth?
Dang.
Yeah, it's a solid body guitar. Well, you know, Les Paul, he fooled around. He didn't. There was a guy in 1896 that actually invented the pickup that would make an electric guitar, but he didn't have anything to plug it into. I mean, it's kind of weird, but that's the way it was. So Les Paul started playing around with the guitars that he had, and he just wanted it louder so he could be heard better. And he came up with a little electric guitar pickup, put it together, but then he got hit with feedback. And the reason for the feedback is that a guitar is a box. It's a wooden box, the body of it. So it's hollow inside. So it creates a sound chamber for feedback. So he started stuffing towels and underwear and everything you could think of. He even put
a flaming parachute, which is it was his record that Tom Cruise broke.
Exactly. He even put concrete in a guitar to see if it would not feedback. And he sort of didn't invent in other words, he didn't invent these things, but he perfected them. So Les Paul is known as the father of modern music. I mean, is
rock and roll, yeah. I mean, the fact that we have, the fact that there is a slow hand, the fact that there is a David Gilmour, the fact that there's a Jimmy Page, all of those guys in many ways owe a great debt to Les Paul, who was born on this day. By the way, guys, normally in Nemo Nation, we've been hurtling through time and space, guest after guest. We saved the last half hour of Dave's time on the air before the Pittsburgh Power Pit Stop for a longer conversation. And normally Dave will conduct that by himself as I get ready to do Pittsburgh Power. Being that this is the first of these longer conversations to conclude Dave's time on Nemo Nation before Pittsburgh Power gets here, I thought I'd take the ride with him. The other reason is this graduate of Texas Tech University is a friend of the show. He's a former member of the Board of Regents for Texas Tech. He's a sixth-generation West Texan. He's the president and chief executive officer of the Texas Trucking Association, TXTA. He's going to tell us all about it. But Dave, why don't you say the name of the man, longtime friend of the show, joining us on the first State of Trucking on Nemo Nation. Take it away.
Our dear friend, longtime friend, John Esparza. John, good morning.
Woo! Hey, good morning, guys. Glad to be here with you. And I'll tell you, on the heels of that history lesson from Les Paul, I happen to be in Lubbock, Texas today, and just a couple of streets over from the elementary school where Buddy Holly went to school, much less his hometown, but right here thinking about Les Paul and Buddy Holly.
Wow, that's incredible. You know, it's funny about about Buddy Holly. They misspelled his name on his first record, and he just left it that way.
How was it supposed to be spelled? Was it supposed to be spelled Buddie? I'm kidding. How was it supposed to be spelled?
I forget. How is it with the E or out the E? I'll have to look that up.
It's EY. It was originally EY, and they left the E out.
Yeah.
That's what really happened.
Right.
That's what went down. Hey, John, how you been, man? It's good to hear your voice.
Well, it's good to hear you guys. Excuse me. Speaking of that voice, I've been losing it. We ended a legislative session here in Texas just last week, and it was a grind. So I'm glad to be done with that, but ready to take on the rest of the year, frankly, when it comes to all things trucking.
Well, it's sort of like one of those just wait situations. One bill, and we're talking about tort reform now, and I know that was probably, if not the focus, certainly one of the top issues that you guys were talking about, the life and death of one bill and then the rebirth of another bill. So we got enough bills here to, line our wallets, I guess you might say, if they were dollars. What is the situation on tort reform now? Is that too simple to question at this point?
Well, it is not. It is something, we have been working on various tort reform measures for years. 4 years ago, passed what would be one of the biggest tort reform items for trucking in our state, most certainly ever, in House Bill 19. And what we learned about House Bill 19 this session is that it is working, and we have went through a process this session, and when we're looking at additional tort reform measures, the reality is the injustices in the civil justice system, the fraud that's been occurring in the civil justice system, especially in the state of Texas, has gotten worse. And when things get worse and people are profitable from it, they tend to work to protect that very hard. So we did have a couple other measures this session to address those. They were defeated. And when I mean defeated, if it says anything, we actually came down to a tie vote, which means that's not a defeat. Actually, in the instance that it was used in state, it would have been a win. But in a verification vote, we lost that vote by 2 votes. And then to make things even worse, 2 members of the legislature asked to change their name in the journal on that vote later, but the vote had already occurred. So we were in a very, very tight effort this session, which only tells us that we just have more work to do to get this across the finish line for the next session in Texas.
John, you're in a unique position because there's a lot of people who have worked in the industry, and there's a lot of people who have worked in government, and there's a lot of people who've worked in politics. And as you know, they're not the same thing. There's some people who like to turn them into synonyms for one another. They're not. You really have an understanding about how the trucking industry works, but also an understanding of what is possible and what can kind of get done. And so you have a unique understanding as well that, as you're kind of pointing out here, that this doesn't happen overnight. Number one, there are no instant gratification moments except when you win something finally. It's like being an overnight success in music. It just took you 10 years to kind of get there. As this battle continues, because we're going to pivot to some stuff about the border here in a second, but as this kind of continues, where do you see your prospects? Are you still hopeful about the agenda you guys have in regards to tort reform and in regards to where stuff is headed next?
Oh, it's a great question, and I do. I am hopeful, and for this reason, what we're looking for is comprehensive reform that's really simple. What we're suggesting is that an informed jury is just simply a better jury, and we work to arm juries with market-based evidence regarding on the true value of medical services in this case. So what we're looking at in the terms of abuse is the inflated medical costs that are being perpetrated and put into these cases that are causing these nuclear verdicts, that are causing these overinflated verdicts, that are basically taking a very, and this is just a piece of it now. You cannot put a cost on pain and suffering. You can't put well, this is what I think it is because someone will think it is different. But when we talk about just some very basic pieces of a civil trial and look at medical procedures and say what's being abused there is just the overinflated costs that are being put in front of juries and that they're actually claiming on. And that is the biggest piece of where we're seeing abuse that's gotten so out of hand that it is absolutely contributed to the skyrocketing prices of our insurance that's been on the rise over the years, and the proliferation of this practice has just gotten worse because we're continuing to see it more and more in Texas communities, and frankly, it's occurring all over the country and in pockets worse than others, but we're definitely one of the worst places in the country for it.
Final follow-up question, and then we'll get to some of the stuff we're going to talk about with the border. how are you guys able to make the communication leap? The idea that when people see higher prices at the diesel pump, just driving by, even though they don't put diesel in their own cars, they understand, oh, that's why my eggs cost more. Oh, that's why my goods and services cost more. How is the battle going with convincing the general public at large, hey man, insurance rates keep going up because of nuclear verdicts, all this stuff is being ultimately passed on to customers. This is another reason why, from y'all's perspective, at least you can tell me if I'm wrong, from y'all's perspective, what the case is for the kind of stuff that you guys are pushing in the Texas legislature.
Well, that's the precise battle. Things have to happen in a very political manner, at a grassroots level and a grass tops level. And when you are that far removed from the costs that are increasing, it's real easy to not make that connection. The U.S. Chamber back in April put out a data point, a study in which they looked at what is the rising costs of these nuclear verdicts, these rising costs of the multiple verdicts, not just the nuclear ones, but the ones that are $1 million and less. All these collectively, there's a cost for it, and it increases the cost of everything for everybody. In the state of Texas, from that study, the cost per household was $4,594 per household in the state of Texas for absorbing, if you will, all of the abuses that we're seeing in our courtrooms. So every individual is paying that price, and that's something that we have to continue to work from the public affairs, public relations standpoint to make people understand that here's what it's costing you and here's what we can do about it.
We're going to pivot now because we could spend all morning on this, but this is really kind of crucial too. In regards to the border, and I don't mean the actual movement and flow across the border, we'll get to that in a second, but in regards to dealing with the Mexican government and its issuance of CDLs, this is a really contentious point, and you guys are doing your best to kind of work with the Texas government and the federal government to kind of issue some changes out there about issuance, correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. We have had and seen issues, with the introduction of Mexican CDLs in our state that are fraudulently being issued. And that has been going on for a number of years. Our law enforcement community recognized that firsthand, and we worked with them 2 years ago to pass legislation that effectively says this: if you're going to hand me a Mexican CDL, and because of the fraud involved in it, you as a law enforcement community are now running that CDL, and it comes back as valid. Well, now in Texas, you can also, enforcement-wise, ask for the B-1 visa, the appropriate worker authorization to accompany that license, so that that law enforcement officer has an idea of whether that is a truly valid CDL that they're being handed. And they've been having their suspicions about it, and it took work to understand what was happening roadside and the reason why we passed that legislation 2 years ago so that we can help ourselves in the state of Texas.
So let me do a quick follow-up for that, too, because that, in many ways, opens the door for all kinds of problems, because with the issuance of those kind of CDLs, it's not just a matter of people who may not be safe on the road, but some really dangerous people might actually be behind some of those CDLs as well, too. Is there, and by the way, there's a cartel connection in other places, but are you guys worried about the criminal element that's attached to the CDLs as well?
Well, absolutely, and that was the catalyst behind it. It's the nefarious activity behind the issuance of those CDLs and their growth in the state of Texas, and not just in the Mexican side of things, but also abuse with third-party providers, the availability of these at flea markets. There is a documented abuse that our law enforcement community in Texas is addressing. And I think, the last piece of that is, in addition to making that requirement to show the proper worker authorization, if you are caught providing a forged government document to a law enforcement officer in the form of a CDL, you're now going to be put in jail for that. That's something that has, my biggest fear. And 2 years ago, when we passed that legislation, I went to all my states all of my colleagues in other states and said, we've got a problem here. Here's how we're dealing with it. But rather unfortunately, I think these drivers are going to be moving into your states very soon, and that's exactly what they've done.
One of the things that we talk about in the industry now, and the spotlight is on the English-speaking component of the reconstitution of the out-of-service criteria for English. I was at CVSA, as you know, when was that, last month or a couple months ago here in New Orleans, and man, that was the talk of the day. The timing couldn't have been better because CVSA was meeting right at the time when that was brought out. We talked to Jami Jones from LandLine and Rick Gobbell, of course, a former FMCSA head there in Tennessee on the program this morning. But you're in Texas. One is they're in Missouri and Tennessee. So you're right there at the border where the language line is, so to speak, in other words, the border. So we have a Spanish-speaking country and an English-speaking country. So I would imagine there's going to be a hotbed of activity in terms of not just whether you can speak and understand English, but cabotage now is coming back into the spotlight. And I remember 40 years ago when cabotage was all anybody talked about after deregulation. So is there going to be a piling on there in Texas, do you think? Do you understand what I'm trying to get at here?
I do, and to an extent. Now, here's the thing. If you take the scenario that I just mentioned, we have to. Mexico's our largest partner for the country, not just the state of Texas, as y'all well know. So this is our front porch. It's not just our backyard. We have to look at that relationship, and we're going to continue to cultivate that. And that's the future of our success. We're seeing that along the border, the amount of trucks that cross every day. I mean, it is happening. But what is also happening is it is not just a deference to a Mexican national trying to get into the United States using a Mexican CDL that they've illegally obtained. This is more about other countries, other of South American countries, European countries, that are taking that scenario and coming through Mexico and buying that Mexican CDL in order to take advantage of the relationship that we have through USMCA. There's just what this presents to us and what we continue to purport is it's an opportunity to look at the USMCA agreement, to look at the way we're issuing visas. Quite frankly, we ought to be issuing a very specific visa for truck drivers. I mean, you've applied visas that don't necessarily apply to the situations that we find ourselves in to move freight across the border, and that's what's been working. So I'm hoping that with the attention of this administration, my conversation in Austin a few weeks ago with the Secretary of Transportation, I think things are moving in the right direction, and certainly with the English proficiency, that's going to be one more thing where we can look at, pay attention to what's occurring at our border. 1,250 miles of all of the U.S.-Mexico border is in the state of Texas, and there's 1,550 total miles. So, yes, we see a lot of that, and we are the front line of defense when it comes to the situation.
Yeah, and by the way, we want to kind of give examples and anecdotes. John Esparza joins us this morning, longtime friend of the show. He's the man with the plan over at TXTA and has a lot of experience both in the private and public sectors of working with coalitions of people to help kind of get the ball down the road for transportation. I want to kind of talk about the fuel depots here for a minute to kind of give people an example, because Dave said Spanish speaking on one side, English speaking on the other. I'm actually going to disagree with Dave. I'm going to say that there's a gigantic liminal space at the border of Mexico and at the border of Texas where it's not just Spanish and English being spoken by everybody, but it's a whole bunch of other languages as well, too, as you kind of pointed out. It makes for, not confusion, but it makes for law enforcement having a lot of challenges and trucking having a lot of challenges because there are so many different players there. But can you kind of talk about the fuel depots here? I don't think there's so much going on in the world. I don't think people are aware of that and the cartels at the Texas border as well, too.
Well, this has been a subject that is very exclusive to us based on our geography. And the other piece of this, it's based on the absolute thirst for diesel that Mexico has and their inability to refine it. They have a greater capacity for or a greater demand for diesel than they can provide. So as a result, the United States becomes a very big exporter of fuel to Mexico, and to Pemex in particular. And this is necessary. This is something that has been growing over the years and over time. But as a result of that, and the nefarious activity that can happen and happens with regards to commodities such as the fuel and its consumption and its the buying and selling and producing of it, what you have in our state is a situation in which you are overloading Mexican trailers that are designed already to carry 120,000 pounds of fuel, but they're being overloaded at 140, 150, 160,000 pounds. And so they're allowed to come into the United States, go to the rack of where they're loading fuel, and then instead of going directly back into the closest avenue to get back over a bridge into Mexico, they're running parallel for miles, 40, 50, 60 miles plus. They're transloading at fuel depots, in which now they're skimming that with distillates. They're stolen fuel, stolen crude is being brought in from across the country, primarily in Permian Basin, and it's all being mixed on the U.S. side and then brought into Mexico. So this is what Operation Fuel Stop engaged in 4 or 6 months ago now, and we've seen several pieces of legislation involving this issue, none of which passed. I mean, bills that would actually help promulgate the issue and bills that would actually help us defend against the issue. It's such a contentious issue, and it's a lot of intricacies to it. But the bottom line is that's what's happening currently in Texas and what we're working against.
Let me ask you another question, too, because this kind of falls into my bailiwick. How are you guys collaborating with law enforcement? I mean, and I mean federal task force, I mean state troopers, and people don't realize the front line is often the sheriffs and the local police communities. How do you guys manage to, like I said, Texas is a big place. I mean, I've always said that there are 3 capitals in the United States: Washington, D.C., Sacramento, and Austin. Because, it's the 8th largest economy is what we're talking about in the world here. 7th if you talk to some people in Texas. How are you guys working with all of these separate players to make sure there's a coherent strategy to really make sure that truck drivers are making that money, but also that everybody's making that money legit?
Yeah, this has been one of the biggest comprehensive efforts that hasn't really gone communicated. You have to dig through a few articles, a few edicts from the administration, but there has been a great collaboration of efforts between the federal government and local police, our state police, in stings against these fuel depots and the activities around them. A more recent article involving a sting down in South Texas involved a couple that was in Utah at the time. I mean, it is an amazing amount of organized effort that goes between both the enforcement sides, but also what's behind it. The factions of the cartel have been warring for years. The reason why I mentioned earlier that truck is running parallel to the border as opposed to crossing it directly over, because when the wrong cartel is in charge on one side, then it requires them to go to other points up and down the border to cross. That's part of what's occurring. But when they all war over fentanyl, war over the drugs that are coming across, but then they all actually are organized when it comes to the movement of fuel, that's because it is a $2.6 billion industry for them annually. So you are seeing a lot of effort currently, a lot of focus behind law enforcement community, and it is all happening, right here in our backyard.
So we do have a bill, though, in the Senate, right, from Juan Hinojosa. SB 2949 to stop the fuel smuggling at the border. That was about a month old now, I guess?
It is. That bill also failed with the end of session, and that was a very comprehensive effort to address a lot of these issues that we're seeing. And unfortunately, you have a number of bills that are being that were being promoted to really act to enable some of that activity. That's the thing. You have to, you're trying to you see various communities up and down the border that are trying to increase weights for aggregate materials in particular, or what those corridors were originally intended for. Years ago when they were set up, there's a movement of products, steel, produce in particular. Was told more recently that it wasn't. It was about 93 octane fuel that was being sold. Now it's just moved into this diesel industry, and because of the need for diesel in Mexico, it's changing. So we all have to make the laws change to address some of the consequences or unintended consequences that come up as a result of agreements from the past. So you're seeing that happen currently, and we saw none of those bills passed. And so when the session ended, we were back to square one, where DPS is going to work to continue to enforce on these issues, and we'll start taking up the measure to enact Chuy Hinojos's legislation once again next session, 2027 now.
John Esparza, thank you so much for being the first guest on the State of Trucking, the long-form conversation on this blitzkrieg of a show. Really appreciate you. I know a lot of people have been kind of dying to get some information on what's going on in Texas. Where can people find you before we shuffle off this radio coil with you?
Oh, come find us on TexasTrucking.com. We've got lots of social media platforms, and if you come chase us on all of them, we put the most important information out there the quickest on our social media.
Thank you, John. I know Dave wants to say goodbye.
Oh, absolutely, John. Thank you so much. And sorry we got so serious on your first outing here with us.
We got a little Les Paul in there, though. Yeah. We got some Les Paul in there. Thank you, John.
I'm honored, guys. I hope to see you all this summer down in Austin.
We'll do, actually. We'll see you there. Thank you, John Esparza, TXTA. Man, those people are the truth. That's it. We're going to come back with Pittsburgh Power. Dave will take his leave of us. Stick around and tell the guys from Pittsburgh Power welcome, and then I'll take over from there. Nemo Nation, Pittsburgh Power Pitstop next.
You don't put a mechanic under your hood who doesn't know rigs, and you don't haul loads for a partner who doesn't understand freight. So why are you trusting your finances to folks who don't know trucking? If you want to run like a business, then ride with TaxesForTruckers.com. You know the road, they know the books. It's a one-stop shop for financial pomp. They lift you up, take a look underneath, and get you rolling again with full-service accounting and tax services, all the while consulting with you. Call 888-TAX-4-TRK to stop overpaying taxes today. TaxesForTruckers.com.
Check out the new over-the-top lineup at participating Country Pride and Iron Skillet restaurants. 3 gigantic sandwiches loaded with flavor. Try the Chicken Parm Stack, the Big Country Combo, or the Ultimate Smash Melt. The Ultimate Smash Melt. 2 delicious smash burger patties, surrounded by 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. 2 sandwiches in 1. Visit your favorite Country Pride or Iron Skillet restaurant and come hungry.
Available for dine-in only at participating Country Pride and Iron Skillet restaurants inside TA or Petro Travel Centers. Wait a minute. Are you running all of your rig's accessories?
All of them. You like that?
No, why would I? Your engine's turned off.
That means I ain't violating no idling laws. You like that?
No, why would I? That means you're running off your battery.
I'm running on an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, why wait. Did you say an Odyssey battery?
Odyssey battery. Rugged, maintenance-free, thin plate pure lead technology, and massive deep cycling capability. Plenty of reserve power to run onboard accessories. Engine on or off. Twice the power, 3 times the life of conventional batteries. That's an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, I don't like that. I love that. Wait a minute. The crickets stopped.
Odyssey hasn't.
Get yourself an Odyssey battery. Performance you can count on.
You know what that means, truckers, travelers, and talkers. Welcome to Nemo Nation, broadcasting live from Fastport Studios in New Orleans with your host, the legendary Dave Nemo, and your favorite co-pilot, Jimmy Mack.
Jimmy Mack in the house. Dave Nemo just going to be here for a few moments to thank Bruce Mallinson and Eric Moser for sticking around and being part of the Pittsburgh Power Pitstop on this first. Well, we got a lot of stuff to work out here, but man, it has been a pretty darn terrific first day on the air, has it not, Dave Nemo?
It has been really exciting, completely new. We've cut ribbons to rooms we didn't even know existed.
By the way, I'm telling Dre, if you're going to talk on the phone and your mic, you got to pick one. Hey, man, good morning, by the way. Good morning to everybody. We're going to see if something's working here, by the way, Dre. We figured out a lot of stuff. I can't tell you. I don't know how Dre's kept up today, Dave. I don't know how he's done it. There is so much going on here. He's literally been on the phone with the folks in Orlando. He's been on the phone with Tarrah over in Clarksville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. He's been on the phone with everybody calling in. He has somehow managed to make this a complete balance. I don't know how. So we're going to try something here. Bruce, I need you to say good morning. No good morning. I don't hear him. Eric, I need you to say good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
I'm good. So we have a Bruce problem? We have a Bruce problem. We're going to work this out here. Eric, so what's happening as we kind of figure out and rumble, bumble, and stumble our way through this? We're going to work out one more thing today. Technically, you're going to be riding alone on this one, it looks like, because we have a double phone problem right now that it'll take us like a half an hour after the show to work it out. Can you ride solo? Can you do it?
Oh, absolutely, but not to add to your troubles, but I can barely hear you on my end, too.
Oh, okay, so I'm going to... well, the thing is, though, is that everybody...
I hear you fine.
Here's the thing, is we can hear you fine, and the
That's
better,
all that matters.
And the better news is the fact that everybody else now tells us that we're actually matching your volume. We're still working out all these kinks. We'll probably get most of them worked out today. It's good to have you. Welcome aboard. How do I sound now? A little better?
It's still pretty soft, but I can hear you. I can make it out.
Dre, do we have anybody else on the phone line right now? Okay. All right, Eric, by the way, Dave just wanted to say thank you for joining us and being part of the first Nemo Nation with the first Pittsburgh Power Pit Stop joining us this morning. So I'll let Dave take over for a second, and then you and I will jump in.
Well, you know, this is kind of an interesting. Leap into the history book again, Eric and Bruce, because we still have the first sponsor that we ever had going back to the early 70s. It was the Union 76 truck stop in Slidell, Louisiana, which of course became a TA, and TA nationwide, TA Petro, are still sponsors, and you are the first full sponsor that we've had on our new platform here, which is 33 different platforms. It's like, whoa. So when one door closes, another door opens, and it's like a 33-car garage bay here that just opened for us. So thanks for being part of this bit of history, guys. I mean, really.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eric, I just wanted to let Dave say thank you. Bruce won't be joining us this morning. We had to kind of let him go because we're still having an issue with a double phone line. But I just wanted to kind of open up before we get into today's topic. I wanted you to kind of tell your story about your involvement with Pittsburgh Power, how you ended up where you ended up. We've touched on it a little bit, but since we're talking origin stories, we've been talking about all morning long with Dave and about the old days of the road gang and all that stuff. How do you end up in your seat?
Actually, that's kind of ironic that you brought this up, because I was actually going to call today's episode New Beginnings.
Fantastic.
For your show and for the engines out there, because we're going to talk about in-frame and out of frames. So it's going to be a new beginning on your engine. But mine was a new beginning here also. It was actually tomorrow will be 15 years since I've been with the company. It was June 10th, 2010. And my background has always been automotive. Very, very strong based in it. My father had a used car. Well, he had a new International Scout dealership for all 18 years that they made them. And then we turned it into a used car lot after that. So cars have always been my niche. I literally started driving cars when I was 8 years old on my dad's car lot. And my mom and dad's house was actually connected to the property. So I would actually drive like about half a mile each way back and forth to my mom's house, just where I could barely see over the steering wheel. And when I was 9 years old, I started driving a stick shift, and my dad was like beside himself when he saw me pull up to the building with it, and he was going to take me to school. And here I pulled up in a 5-speed manual, and it didn't hit him till we were halfway to school. And he said, "Wait a minute, this is a stick. How did you drive that?" I said, "Well, I watched you. I watched you and your legs and your feet and your hands. I just paid attention." And, 9 years old, I got to pick whatever car I wanted for my dad to take me to school every day. That was like winning the lottery, like every day, because I was so into cars and trucks and just anything with an engine. But fast forward a few years after that, after I was 9, I was actually an electrician for a local beer bottling manufacturer. They made the machines that did silk screening for glass bottles, like Corona and a couple other ones out there, but Modesto Brothers that own Corona was our biggest customer. And we had a shift in the economics, I guess you could say, of it. Middle Eastern customers were diverting their contracts otherwhere, and there was a bunch of layoffs. So I was actually laid off. I just bought my Harley. I had an Ultra Classic that I was redoing, and I decided that this was February of 2010, and I decided I'm going to go to Bike Week in Daytona. It was in March. I've never been to Bike Week, and I'm going to go. So I took a strawberry red and silver Ultra Classic and converted it into a Street Glide. It was all black with stretch saddlebags and cam change and handlebar, everything. Really dumb idea to pull at the last minute, but I did. I pulled it off, and then at the last minute, the guy I was going with backed out, so I never did go. But for the next couple months, I was doing some side jobs, some more paint work and stuff, and my wife is a dental hygienist, and she came home from work one day and said, I met this guy today at work. His name's Bruce Mallinson, and he wants to talk to you. And I said, "Well, about what?" And she said, "Well, I think a job, but I'm not sure." And she told me the name of the company, Pittsburgh Power, and I thought, man, I've been living in this area my whole life, and I never heard of this company before. So I did a quick Google search on it and saw that they were a diesel repair shop, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. They got some nice-looking trucks and some hot rods, and I'm into hot rods. But the only thing I know about diesels is that they take the green pump at the island. I didn't know anything else about it. So I came in for an interview on June 10th, and we went through the interviewing process. And Bruce asked me some questions that I've never been asked before in an interview, but it was really where we created common ground. Instant connection, instant bond. It was like I was talking to a long-lost friend. And I've been here ever since. I literally never went home. For the next 2 weeks, I sat in Bruce's office with a tablet and a pencil, and I listened to everything that man had to say and wrote down everything I could think of, and we would discuss all the questions afterwards. And I worked my way from the sales side into the service side and now the GM. So it's been 15 years of being very blessed. I work with a great bunch of people. We get to do some really cool things here, and I talk to some amazing people out there. I meet new friends every day. And if you're listening, you are my newest friend. I just made a good connection with him last week. We're doing an engine rebuild for him in the shop right now, an X15. And it's amazing how people get put into your life. Real quick, I met Manny at the Louisville Truck Show 2 years ago. It was my first ever Louisville Truck Show. And this gentleman walked into our booth with this really cool white hat on. And he wanted to buy some OPS sample kits and filters, and kind of beat me up over the price a little bit. We were going back and forth, bantering, and being that I'm third generation used car salesman, it's genetic. I have to play that game. So we went back and forth, and I said, all right, look, I'll give you a discount if you give me that hat. Man, that ended negotiations right then and there. Nope, deal's off the table. I'll take it. I'll pay whatever you want. The hat can't go. So we kind of joked around. The hat means a lot to him. It was sentimental. So we leave there, and I'm on my way home, and there was a really bad accident on, I want to say it was I-40, 440, whatever it was. We had a 2.5-hour detour through these little small towns, truck and trailer. It wasn't very pleasant, and my time to get home just kept getting pushed back further and further, and I just wanted to go home. And I pull into this rest stop right as the end of the detour. I walk into the mini mart to pay for the fuel, and who's standing there but Manny? So he started talking again, and then fast forward 2 more years, he calls me up, and I'm talking to this gentleman, and I'm thinking, this voice sounds really familiar, and then it hit me. This is the guy with the white hat. So we became pretty good friends over the phone. He's a really good guy, but it's just such a cool job that I have. Like, I'm very blessed and very thankful for what I do here, and it's very refreshing to get to meet new people like this and to make common friends and lifelong friends. You know, we have a lot of people here that I consider really close friends of mine. I've been very blessed. I'm very happy.
Let me ask you about the energy over there as well too, because I have I'm going to get up to your shop at some point. But when people kind of come in there, when you first went over there, what is the energy like? I mean, is the place bustling all the time? I mean, I know you have a lot of regular customers. You have a lot of people who have found out about you and therefore are kind of digging in with you. What is it like to be over there in the action at Pittsburgh Power?
Some days you're the bug, some days you're the windshield, Jimmy. No, it's positive. We have so many different, what do I want to say here, diversities of people and, backgrounds and knowledges. And when you pull them all together, you get a combined energetic atmosphere. It's actually invigorating to me, because there's sometimes we'll get a truck in here that has a certain problem that I just, can't wrap my head around. Like, how does this happen? And then there starts to be like a small crowd forming. And JR will come in from our engineering department, or Alex, and then Rock, my shop foreman, or Brian, my service guy that was our shop foreman. He's been here for almost 40 years. A couple of the older techs, a couple of the younger techs. We all get together and have like a powwow, and we start like bannering ideas off each other. And then all of a sudden, click, it goes off. Okay, this is the issue. But it's so energetic, and the conversation is so electrifying that it makes it fun. That's what makes my day go by fast. I joke with my wife, like, I don't even look at the clock. I look at the calendar anymore. It goes by so fast, and it's so fun to do it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you,
I like problem solving.
I tell you this, Eric, and right now it's happening over here. I can't tell you how much we relate. Dave actually stepped outside to make sure that he could hear both you and I clearly on the air. It turns out that Tarrah and him say, even though you're having a little bit of a hard time hearing me, everybody's hearing both of us, which is really groovy. Dre is on the phone trying to solve a couple of plot problems right now. He's in the midst of problem solving. And having everybody in person, people you like and people you trust, all kind of around you, always makes a big difference. And I can tell you this from Dre's experience. In the last couple of weeks before we made the move, I started doing shows up there. So when you called last week, I was actually in Ocean Springs with him doing the show. And having the people that you care about and that you respect and who you like working with in the same room makes all the difference. By the way, really quickly, before we shift the conversation to today's topic, thank you for indulging me, Eric. Normally we take a break here. We're not going to do that now, though. The new format demands I do other things. I do want to tell people we are broadcasting Nemo Nation live from the Fastport studios at the historic Degas House in New Orleans. Fastport solves America's toughest recruiting and workforce challenges through research, technology, and people. From registered apprenticeships to veteran readiness, learn more at fastport.com or nationalapprenticeship.org. By the way, Bruce Mallinson, very close friend with the president of Fastport, Brad Bentley, which shows you how connected all this stuff is. And please, guys, go to pittsburghpower.com and find out how they can get you back on the road and get you the trucking lifestyle that makes it worth living. Eric, new beginnings. Let's kind of shift over now and kind of unpack new beginnings for us. And what you meant by that, we'll go into more detail.
Absolutely. So today's topic I was actually going to call New Beginnings, because it's actually about engines. So today we're going to talk about in-frames versus out-of-frame rebuilds. The first thing I want to stress is something that one of my customers actually told me a long time ago, and I never forgot this. Randy Corley was one of my first customers when I started here 15 years ago. He is a gasoline hauler out of Panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. So he runs pretty much flat, warm terrain. You know, he's streamlined for a tanker. But he bought our signature truck, which was a Peterbilt glider with a Caterpillar 6NZ in it, 18-speed transmission, 355 rear gears, and it had every single performance product on that truck that we offered. It made around 750, 800 horsepower if you turned it up all the way. It was just downright a force to be reckoned with. It was a really nice truck. I actually painted the fenders on that truck. It was a baby blue and white when I got here, and it just didn't sit well with me, so we made it a Shelby GT500, the dark blue metallic fenders, and it really just changed the whole atmosphere of the truck. But when I picked him up at the airport, I remember meeting Randy for the first time, and we were driving back in my pickup, and I asked him about, you know, why did you buy this truck? And he said, well, I got an older truck, and I was thinking about doing an in-frame and an out-of-frame. He said, but every time I have a major engine failure, I always think about what my dad told me, and that was, you plan for an in-frame, but you prepare for an out-of-frame. And that stuck with me. 15 years later, I still tell people that when somebody calls me and says, hey, I want to get an in-frame on my truck, you know, how much is it going to cost? What are the chances it's going to turn into an out-of-frame? And you know, unfortunately, you just don't know that until you pull the cylinder head off and you start looking around. But that's a good saying to keep in the back of your mind. Always prepare for the worst on this stuff, because it can take a left turn at any given moment.
Eric, I want to say this really quickly. Like I said, I know what you're talking about. Most of our listeners know what you're talking about. Can you just, for the sake of what I call Trucking for Dummies 101, really distinguish between in and out?
Yeah, absolutely. So an in-frame is where we rebuild the engine in the chassis. We don't physically remove the engine block. It stays in there. We remove all of the accessories on the sides of the engine, like your fuel pump and air compressor and, you know, anything that would get in our way. The cylinder head gets removed, and then we drop the oil pan, and then we roll in new rods and main bearings on the bottom, and then we pull the pistons and the rods up through the top. The out-of-frame rebuild is whenever you remove the engine out of the chassis. So it's an out-of-frame rebuild. Now, you can also do an in-frame out of the chassis. We just did a camshaft change on a PACCAR MX-13 a few weeks ago because they use a pressed-on lobe-style camshaft. So the camshaft's actually a hollow tube, and it has pressed-on lobes, which I've never seen before until I got into the trucking industry. And two of the lobes run the two unit pumps, they call them, which are like little fuel pumps. And when those lobes spin, it, of course, throws the fuel pressure way off. So PACCAR was designed and engineered to be running in Europe. And in Europe, they run a lot of cab-over trucks, which everything on this engine is rear gear driven. So everything that's on a normal truck that you're used to seeing, if you took the engine and spun it around 180 degrees, that's how these things are. They put everything in the rear. So in a cab over, you just jack the cab up and you have all the room in the world back there, because the camshaft does have to come out of the rear of the engine. In a conventional, like, you know, long-nosed Peterbilt, or this truck was actually, I think, an International, you don't have that luxury. So sometimes you have to remove the engine to do the work that right. makes more sense and more economics for the customer as well. So that would be your difference between the in-frame and the out-of-frame. Another thing I get asked a lot is, how many times can I rebuild my engine? Unfortunately, there's not a good answer. I wish I could tell people that, but I just don't have an honest answer. Now, I will say that over the years, we've seen, you know, you can usually in-frame an engine sometimes twice. You know, when you get up around your first 1,000,000 miles, an in-frame is definitely a good possibility. Very rarely does it become an out-of-frame. And the reason it needs to stay an in-frame versus an out-of-frame is the machine work we would have to do to the engine block. If we pull the cylinder head off and we drop the rod and main bearings out through the bottom, if there's a particular wear pattern on specifically the rod bearing or main bearings, then we know we may have a problem with the bottom end. And that's what constitutes an out of frame. Or the other side of that is, hey, I'm pushing like 2.5 million miles on this engine. I had it in framed at 1.2. Now I'm getting up on another 1.2. Can we in frame it again? And the chances are probably not. Because we have a lot of heat cycles and stress, and there's a lot of, just force on that block, and there's tiny explosions happening in every one of those cylinders over time that takes its toll on the metal. So the metal will start to get a little bit distorted. We've seen blocks that were a little bit out of level. They'll actually have like a sag to them where they'll have a dip in the middle. The most common thing, though, would be on the crankshaft, like your main bore. On the main bearings, you'll see a wear pattern to one side or the other, or maybe top to the bottom, but it's uneven. That's what we're looking for, is uneven patterns. That's a dead giveaway. So when we send an engine block over to the machine shop, the first thing they do is boil it to clean all the residual junk and rust and grease, everything off of it. And then they do a MagnaFlux testing, which MagnaFlux, if anybody's ever seen it in person, it's so fascinating to me how this works. They kind of use like a powder coating gun, and it spritzes this powder over the entire engine block, inside, out, everywhere. And it is a purplish color over everything. Then they take a black ultraviolet light and they shine it over top. And anywhere that there's a crack that you can't see with your naked eye, it turns fluorescent green. And fluorescent green to a dark, like royal purple, is completely different contrast. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
Do you realize, I want to point out something here really quickly, because I'm being a goofball because it's my first show and getting a chance to actually hang out with you. I'm so thrilled to be actually talking with Eric Moser on the phone here. A week ago, I'd have been like, we'll see. It's kind of like it depends on rebuilding an engine. All these colors you're talking about feels like a 70s funhouse, man. I mean, we're talking about greens and purples and glows and all that stuff. I know why you guys do what you do. You're just trying to replicate haunted houses from the 1970s. It's classic stuff.
I'll hit your memory bank. If you remember the banana splits.
Oh, my God.
That's what I think of when I see like this lime green and purple with Saturday morning cartoons, watching the banana splits and Johnny Quest and Space Ghost. And, yeah, that was some good times. But this is a little bit more scientific than Saturday morning cartoons, though, but that's where we put the science to it, so you can rest assured that you're spending your money wisely and properly. The worst thing you could get would be a bill for an out-of-frame rebuild only to find out there was a crack in the block somewhere that you didn't see, with the naked eye. And that's why we use this process, because it is foolproof. So after we are assured from the machine shop that the engine is good and straight and clean, we're going to do the machine work to it. Well, we are not the machine shop. Let me rephrase that. They do a line bore, which is basically a large drill bit. In other words, is where they'll actually bolt on the main caps, which is what holds the crankshaft in there, and they'll run this great big large drill bit through it to make sure that it stays round and true. Because over time, it can get a little bit egg-shaped or eccentric and look a little bit weird, and that's where you'll pick it up on the main bearing wear patterns. And then they'll also recondition the rods if we want them to, but usually we don't in this world. In the race world, a lot of times we'll recondition the rods. In this world, we usually just buy reman rods. It's a much more cost-effective and a lot more insurance on it too. So depending on the supply and demand, we're going to talk about that a little bit later too, with the COVID and the supply and demand and emissions, everything like that. But after they do that, they're going to deck surface the block, which is where they make it a true flat mating surface for the cylinder head. And then they ship it back to us. We do a clean out on the block, and then we start the reassembly process. So that's the biggest difference between an in-frame and out-of-frame, is what it actually entails. There's a little bit extra labor, of course, because you're removing that, and there's extra parts. And the extra parts that you would think of would be, of course, in the engine, but the extra parts that you don't think of might be like the clutch, the front input shaft rebuild kit of a transmission. How about your engine mounts or transmission mounts or even radiator mounts? stuff that you don't normally have access to with the engine block in the chassis. So when I do an estimate, I usually put like a $500 miscellaneous on the bottom just for the customer to see, because that, and in there it says like radiator mounts, tranny mounts, bolts, clamps, stuff that you wouldn't normally think of whenever you're trying to do a rebuild in your head, because you're thinking pistons, injectors, cylinder head. You have all the mechanical parts in your engine going around inside your engine, but you're not really thinking about what's outside too. And that's where we want to, maybe address some of those things, because it's only going to save you money in the long run because we're already there as far as the labor. So,
Eric, I'm gonna put a little bit of a break on you, because in about a minute and a half we're going to have to actually take that break. Because by the way, we're all getting used to new formats, and I'm so thrilled that Eric could join us on the first Nemo Nation. Give us a little preview when we come back on the other side of the break where we're going to pivot to.
Sure. So what I would like to talk about are the actual parts that are in a typical rebuild and the differences between some of the shops out there. Some of the stuff that we do for performance-wise that sets us apart from other shops out there. The part supply that we now offer that, again, sets us apart from other shops out there. Just an overall background of why we're going in the direction that we are, because we saw the writing on the wall. We've seen the shift in the paradigm with the OE manufacturers as far as pricing and availability, and that's what I want to talk about, some specific parts and some specific numbers when we come back as well.
We are going to come back on the other side of this also with a tribute to a friend of not only Radio Nemo, but a friend of Pittsburgh Power, who actually passed away on June the 3rd. We'll be giving her a bit of a shout out. A real friend to everybody out there, and her husband, who is still with us. We want to make sure that he is getting taken care of and loved out there. That's what we do here. We're family over here. As Eric talked about at Pittsburgh Power, over here at Radio Nemo of North America, we are... we're friends to all of you guys, and we hope you guys will continue to call in over the course. You can even call in now. If you just want to call in and tell Eric and I, hi, how you doing? Let us know that things are going well, that you're actually in the feed. We'd love to hear from you. That would be awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon on the other side of this. Go to PittsburghPower.com with this music playing. We'll be right back.
Want to make your diesel engine cleaner and more efficient? Pittsburgh Power's Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst can reduce your soot output by 60% and increase your thermal efficiency. Max Mileage keeps your engine and emission systems functioning at its best. Less soot means a longer engine and emission component life, drastically fewer regens, and better performance. Take the first step towards a cleaner, more efficient ride. Visit PittsburghPower.com and order your Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst today. Drive cleaner, drive smarter.
The Joshua Chamberlain Society is unlike any other veterans organization. It's truly a family, and I know that firsthand from working with them myself. Their mission is to make wounded veterans and families of deceased veterans feel the support and appreciation of their community for life. Our veterans' injuries are permanent, and so is the JCS support. From monetary assistance like paying utility bills or college funds to helping our heroes find purpose, JCS is a family that surrounds and supports the heroes who have sacrificed so much. Learn more and make your donation at chamberlainsociety.org. That's chamberlainsociety.org.
Okay, you've heard the horror stories of how folks have lost their life savings when the market tanks. Is there a way to invest and make money without risk? Believe it or not, yes. Since 1995, Americans who cannot afford to lose their investments have used fixed index annuities. You get guaranteed income and protection from market downturns. It's a win-win for you and your future. To learn more, dial pound 250. Use the keyword Truckers Wealth to get in touch with them today.
Did you know it's extremely easy to join the Wreaths Across America mission to remember our fallen heroes, while at the same time honoring those who are currently serving our country and their families? Plus, you're helping to teach our younger generation about the value of freedom. With just one $17 donation to Wreaths Across America, you're sponsoring a fresh Maine Balsam Remembrance Wreath. They've really become a symbol of America's respect for those who bravely served and are no longer with us. To sponsor your wreath, just visit wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Back to the talk that drives America. This is Nemo Nation. Let's rejoin Dave and Jimmy live from Fastport Studios.
Drives America. I don't want to drive America. Have you hung out with America recently? It's like a drunken sailor on a spending binge. Hey guys, head over to PittsburghPower.com and check them out over there. Hey, we want to take a moment here as Eric Moser joins us because he's friends with these cats too. We're friends with them. Kim Hemerson passed away peacefully with Al at her bedside. Astro Boy and skater. June 3rd. Just recently. She was born on July 6th of 1961 to James and Leda. She grew up in Humboldt, Iowa, and graduated in 1979 from Humboldt High School. She married Al on May 18th of 85. Kim worked at G&H Motor Parts during high school until the business was sold in 99. She then became a secretary dispatch for their farming trucking business. She and Al traveled the United States in the truck until her hospitalization. She enjoyed a hobby of creating photo memory books and was a member of the Trucker Buddy program for over 10 years. She and Al were named Trucker Buddies of the Month in 2008 and awarded the Trucker Buddy International Award in 2017. Many former students kept in contact with Kim into their adult years. She is preceded in death by her parents and sister-in-law, Angie. She's survived by, of course, Al, her service dog, Tinsley, stepson, Russ, and sisters, Cindy and Terry, brother Joe, as well as nieces and nephews. I agree with this sentiment. She will be missed by friends and truck drivers from across the United States. A celebration of life will take place at a later date, yet to be determined. In lieu of flowers, of course, why are we not shocked? Donations can be made to the St. Christopher Fund that helps truck drivers in need. Contributions can be sent to St. Christopher Fund, P.O. Box 30763, Knoxville, Tennessee 37930, or go to the website truckersfund.org and click the donate button at the top of the page. We will miss Kim. She was a good friend of the show, and she was one of the first people to welcome me, her and Al, with open and warm arms. From Dave Nemo and everybody here at Radio Nemo and Pittsburgh Power, we send our condolences. I had to get that in, Eric, and of course Dre's got a comment he would like to make really quickly as well, too.
Well, I want to let everybody just be able to jump back in the conversation, and we have a few more callers here as well, but man, she will be greatly missed. That was someone that I talked to my fair share here and there on each show, but especially on the Tim Ridley Show. And that was someone that would reach out to me, and we would do our little segments together, and she was just always
the best.
She was the best. She was always intrigued. She was always completely invested. That was the word I was looking for. But at the same time, dude, she wasn't letting you slipping. She wasn't going to let you get by with anything, and she was going to give you a hard time, man. Oh, God bless.
They kept on me until their niece, who was a world-class frisbee golf player, they kept on our case until we got her on the show, man. If they were on your side, they were on your side, man.
Man, 100%, and they had your back to the very end. So do yourself a favor and donate to St. Christopher Fund. And Astro Boy, we love you, man, and hope
we
to
love
talk to
you
you soon.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Dre. Well said. Eric, welcome back. He's a great guy, and she's a great lady.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be different. Yeah, Al and Kim were a big staple of our business too. They're real close personal friends of Bruce as well. Bruce actually called me last week to let me know that she had passed. But yeah, Al, if you're listening, our condolences to you, my friend.
Yeah, just a good guy. And it goes back to what you were talking about earlier, though. I mean, the idea that you have made so many friends over there. I mean, the idea that, I love the question, how many times can I rebuild my engine? And after listening to you talk, I think I figured it out. The answer is, it depends.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it kind of comes down to. What we're talking about here is it an in or an out? Well, it depends. I mean, you don't know until you look at it. You don't know till you get around people you trust. And to me, and then we'll get to the nitty-gritty and the details, it often sounds like that you guys don't make that decision rashly, that really is about talking to as many expert voices as you can get around you before making that determination, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, when one of our techs pulls a cylinder head off, he will do an inspection on it, make his evaluation. He will grab the shop foreman, and he will do an inspection and make his evaluation. And then 9 times out of 10, they'll come and grab either myself or Brian, and we'll go out and make an evaluation too. So almost every time you're getting 3 sets of eyes on the same issue, and we're going to get together and make a sound decision. But yeah, unfortunately, like you said, an in-frame can turn into an out-of-frame, or even like a head gasket. You pull a cylinder head off and you go to think I got to change a head gasket. And then the first thing we do is we measure the liner protrusion. And if the liner protrusions are too low, there's no sense in doing just a head gasket, because we know it's not going to have enough clamping pressure on it to hold the gasket in place, and it's going to blow again. And liner protrusion is something that's very, very crucial to us. Every manufacturer has their tolerances. And what liner protrusion is, it's a distance that you measure from the top of the deck of the engine block to the top of the lip of the liner that slides down in there. And every engine manufacturer, like I said, has different tolerances. Now, I'm going to use Caterpillar just for instance for today's lesson. And Caterpillar says you have to have between 1 and 6 thousandths. So that liner lip needs to stick out of that block anywhere between 1 and 6 thousandths of an inch. The issue that everybody here has with that is, what do you think the clamping force is going to be between all of them at 1 thousandths or all of them at 6 thousandths? There's going to be a big swing on that, and there's a lot less clamping pressure at 1 thousandths. So what we do is we usually set them up for 7 thousandths. We make them actually 1 thousandths over the spec to give it that extra clamping pressure down on the head gasket. And we don't see the head gasket failures that a lot of other places do. And it's because of our background in racing and gearheads and just mechanical knowledge and capabilities that we've came up with this over the years, and it's worked. These are some of the trade things that we do that sets us apart, and we do them every single day. And when we have a radio show topic about stuff like this, I often forget, because to me, it's standard procedure. It's standard operating procedure every day in and out. But to somebody else that's never been through this or never heard of this, it's almost like magic. Like, wow, I never even thought about that, And there's different ways you can go about doing this too. Like on the head gasket particular, like Caterpillar offers 2 different deck plates. Because on a Caterpillar engine, you have the cylinder head, then you have a steel deck plate, and then you have the engine block itself. And they do offer one that's about 3 thousandths thinner. So if your liners are, let's say, at 3 thousandths, and you're kind of like right in the middle, and you're like, well, I'm right in the middle. Do I hold them? Do I fold them? What do I do here? And that's where this plate comes into play, because you can put that on there, and now you're back up to 6 thousandths. So you get that extra clamping pressure on the head gasket. But again, this is just stuff that's, I don't want to say it's not forgotten, but it's just, I get kind of callous to it because it's standard operating procedure. It's something that I'm very, very used to, and I have to stop and think about these things whenever we do the prepping for the shows, because it is what sets us apart, and a lot of people don't know that, and that's our job here, is to educate people on what we do and how we do it.
Well, the other thing is, too, is the fact that, and this is what's so interesting about these conversations and why I often stop, and I know it sounds so obvious, and I have to do it, too, because we'll be talking. There was one time that Bruce was on the show, and I understood everything he said, and I realized, wait a minute, I think Eric, myself, and about 20 truckers listening right now really know what the hell he's talking about. And I don't mean that, like, dismissively. It was beautiful what he's saying. But it's always kind of important to stop and remember, so many people who are doing this are getting involved for the first time or are just getting their feet wet. And it's so important because it makes for a better customer when they come in if they start to have that foundational conversational point with you, right?
Absolutely. I call it shifting gears, because I might talk to customer A about an oil sample, and the very next customer B that I talk to is about, hey, what's the timing on my big cam? Or I'm doing an in-frame and I need to know what you guys would set your, there's just so many different levels of people that we talk to every day, you constantly shifting gears. But again, that's what I enjoy. I never would have thrived at like a manufacturing job where I would have had to make the same widget every single day. I did that right out of high school, and it lasted about 2 months. I thought, this is not for me at all. This was like a prison.
Oh, by the way, that's a question I had for you. I mean, like I said, this is a little bit of a different episode, guys, so bear with us. It's like, it's new beginnings as we're kind of talking about, not just in terms of the topic, but in terms of the reality of Nemo Nation here. How, like I said, when you bring on somebody new, when you hire somebody new, how do you explain to them that everybody here doesn't blow jazz? I mean, everybody that works there blows jazz, but literally some people are just learning scales. And so one of the worst things you can do is you can turn off a customer instantly by burying them in technobabble or getting aggravated at them when they don't have a full grasp of everything that goes into what it is you guys do. How do you bring somebody along when you get a newbie in the shop?
That's a good question, actually. Just
being nice? I mean, just be nice?
Yeah, first thing I do is say good morning, but that we usually put them on a job that they feel comfortable with, and then we talk to them back and forth, and you really let them set the pace. Get a feel for where they're at, how comfortable they are, what kind of ideas they come at you with, what kind of questions they come at you with is a big thing with me, because I want to know, is he thinking in or outside of the box? Is he thinking about the job at hand or everything that's related to it? Is he thinking about what cause and effect that part has? Those are all things that go through my mind, and I want to try to make sure that everybody plays detective. We use that term so many times on the show, but that's what it is. I mean, when somebody comes to you with a problem, you have to play detective to figure out what caused the problem and how to make it better. We just recently did that with our parts lineup. The problem was for so long that the parts prices have been going up and up and up, and it just, not that the quality suffered. I mean, it is OEM. They make some really good stuff, but it's almost like that they really got a little bit too much out of hand. And I know Bruce had talked to Mark Chappell, who was head of the whole-set turbocharger division and actually invented the Tritech piston at Cummins. He was a corporate Cummins engineer his entire life, and he's a good personal friend of ours. Myself, too. He's great. I love Mark. He's a great guy. And Mark told Bruce one time, because Bruce had asked him the question about, why are these parts so expensive? And he said, Cummins and well, all the manufacturers for that matter, they don't make their money off selling you the engine. They make their money off of the part sales and the repeat customer. And it's what we've seen over the years, and with everything since COVID, with the part supply. And even if we go back, this all started over 20 years ago now. We saw a big increase in the pricing whenever the first emissions engine started to come out back in 2003. And ever since then, they have really and steadily climbed up every single year. And now you look at some of these injectors out there for the truck that used to be $200, $300, $400 a piece. They're now $1,000 to $1,400 a piece. It's nothing to quote a guy a $10,000 service bill for a 6-pack of injectors, parts, and labor. It's just gotten really, really high. So that's where we've kind of shifted gears again, and we went with the aftermarket companies. A lot of our customers were asking for it for years, and we took that in consideration, but we just didn't feel that it was the right time. Now it is. We've done our due diligence. We've done our homework. We have 2 in-frames in the shop right now I'm doing with aftermarket parts. I've done 4 cylinder head changes, a couple sets of injectors. It's been really good quality, really good feedback from the customers. Everybody's very happy right now. I mean, it's just been a good fit overall. So that's where we've came out with what we call our PHD, Pittsburgh Heavy Duty line of parts. And it's a good economical choice for OEM alternatives. Sometimes OEM is the best choice. Sometimes it's not. But that's our job, is to offer you choices. And even related to today's topic of the rebuilds, that's the worst feeling in the world, is to feel trapped. When somebody brings a truck in and you have to give them the bad news where, they thought it was maybe just a head gasket or maybe just a slight oil leak or something else going on. Then you have to tell them, hey, look, your engine's just wore out. Here's what it's going to cost. Most people are pretty good with that. Some people are just not prepared for that. And that's why we like to give choices. And the PhD line of parts has really filled that gap that we had for that I'm able to save a lot of money for a lot of customers right now with them.
I'll tell you this, by the way, and one of the hardest things for people to understand who actually aren't in this business is, look, I mean, I had an old Cop Cruiser, 2001, old Cop Cruiser. Guy comes to me and he says, look, he said, I can replace your compressor, I can top you off, and it won't get cold until you actually start moving. He said it's $5,000 to replace the compressor. It's absolutely like $300 to top you off and to kind of, I can make that call, no problem. I can be like, screw it. Just top me off. Don't worry about it. We're talking about people's livelihoods here. You can't mess around with that, can you? I mean, there's no like quick fixes here. You gotta fix it. There's no like, we'll patch up. There's none of that nonsense that goes on. You can't do that.
That was something that I learned really fast 15 years ago was I'm used to working on cars and pickups in the automotive industry, and people drop off their car, you fix it, and you send it back. But in the meantime, they're going to their job. They're finding another way. Well, this doesn't work like that. This is your job. This is your livelihood. This is your everyday vehicle. So it's a lot different, because I never heard the term, downtime. I never heard that before. It just, you drop your car off, I fix it, I inspect it, and it's out the door. This is completely different, but this is just another way to fill that void for people. And we still offer OEM parts on everything as we did before, too. I don't want people to think that we're, shifting gears completely.
No.
It.
Well, actually, it makes a lot of sense, though, because basically you have to be aware of what the economy is, and you have to be aware of the fact that you still want to make sure people get back to work. So what we're saying here is, look, there's some great parts. But that being said, there's some ways we can do this that actually fits within your budget, or at least makes this not a backbreaker given the constraints of what's going on in the industry right now. You've got to be able to give customers those choices, because if you don't, you might shut them down. Or you might put them in a hole from which they never recover. Really quickly here, in lieu of a break, I want to say that Fastport solves America's toughest recruiting and workforce challenges through research, technology, and people. From registered apprentices to veteran readiness, learn more at fastport.com or nationalapprenticeship.org. We say that because the Fastport studios here are, in fact, paid for by our friends at Fastport. Really quickly, too, go to pittsburghpower.com. Some folks called in, Dre, and wanted to say congratulations to both Eric and myself. Who we got calling?
Oh, man, we had a few callers, but I only got 2 messages for you guys. Good old Horse Feathers there. Eric called in. He wanted to say hi, and he's loving a new platform for us, but he is driving a Pittsburgh Tune, and it's running excellent, he says. So don't know if you worked on that, Eric, but kudos to you, my friend.
Yeah.
I don't touch computers. It would be bad things. I'm a carburetor guy for a reason.
Well, hey, I understand that. Well, I got 2 more things. My good old buddy Packrat said he always loves listening to Pittsburgh Power. Good to hear it back on the old platform that we have here. And then lastly, we got to give some props to my brother Aaron. Eric, I feel like you and him would be 2 fellas that would get along very well.
I think so too.
Yeah, he's a mechanic as well. And I told him, I was like, check it out, see what you think, because I know the rest of the show's probably not his cup of tea. But I was like, hey, that last hour I think you'll dig. And he's listening to it. He's like, yeah, that guy knows a few things.
Yeah, we figured. I got a chance to meet Aaron this week, by the way, as we kind of cleared out the space over at Ocean Springs. And by the way, Eric, I'm going to have Dre send you some pictures of what the studio looks like now. These guys came in. This guy Mike, what's it called? 2 guys in a wrecker. What is it called? What's it called?
2 guys in a dump. Yeah.
What is it? It's called 2 guys in a dump,
yeah,
right?
2 guys in a dump.
And this guy called me up and he's like, "Yeah, I brought my dump in. I got rid of all that stuff for you, baby. Now pay me." So I got the invoice and I paid him, and it was pretty fantastic. What you got, Trey?
Look, man, I'm gonna give what's the word? What's the saying I'm looking for? I need shameless plug for.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, gig. If you need some work being done on the coast here, motorcycle or anything else side by side, you give Aaron a call or a Facebook message.
Yeah.
I'll get out of your hair.
We managed to get a little nepotism in there too, Eric. So if you want to work in anything for your kids, please, this is the moment to do it. Before we wrap up here, I want to give you time to kind of cover what else needs to be covered this morning. What else you got?
So I do want to stress about apples to apples and not apples to oranges. And what I mean by that one is people will call us and say, I need to get an estimate on an in-frame. Brian or myself will work up the estimate, we'll send it over, and we call them up, and they're just like, well, you're about $4,000 higher than the other guy. And that just usually doesn't happen until you really start to dig in and divulge the information. And I've asked people, what exactly were they quoting you on? Well, they're going to do pistons and rods and mains and liners and liner seals. Okay, are they doing the cylinder head? No. Are they doing the injectors? No. Okay, well, then it's not apples to apples. If that's the case, I'm going to be about $6,000 cheaper than that next guy. So make sure you're doing your homework. When you look at it, what constitutes an in-frame, what we consider constitutes an in-frame, is pistons, liners, gaskets, bearings, injectors, and a cylinder head. That's your typical in-frame. So make sure you're looking for those parts on your invoices or estimates whenever you're getting them. Another thing I do want to talk about is some of the stuff that sets us apart. Talked about was like the head gaskets and the liner protrusion. Another thing we offer is balancing the pistons to the rods. That's something that we divulged, is something that we actually came from our racing background. That's something we've used for a long time, and it's really worked very, very well on high RPM engines. Now, on these engines, they're not high RPM, but there's still a lot of stress, and you literally can feel the difference when you get into an engine that we built with balancing the rods to the pistons, and one that is just out of the box. Because we actually took a set of rods years ago and weighed them, and there was an astronomical difference between one and the other 5. And I want to say it was something to the tune of like 30 or 40 grams. And that's a lot of weight, especially when you're on a rotisserie. It's spinning around like that. It just throws the engine out of balance, and it's almost destined to fail right from the get-go. Another thing we do in-house is cutting counter bores. We can cut the upper counter bores, and sometimes we can even cut the lower counter bores too, depending on the situation. Again, it depends. That saying is very, very true. But we've done 2 this week, cutting upper counter bores to ensure that you do get a proper fitment on the liner protrusion and the liner seals. It's something that we really go the extra mile on because we want to do it once. We don't want to do this twice. Nobody wants to do a rebuild twice. We want to make sure that you get the best quality and the best fitment and the best price. And that's why we offer so many different options. The last thing that I was going to talk about too was downtime. In frames and out of frames, a lot of people ask me which one's right for me, and I tell them an in frame doesn't pick you, an out of frame does. And what I mean by that is an in-frame, you can schedule that. If you're on a dedicated route and let's say you're pushing around 1 million miles, you can decide like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to take a vacation in September. Let's schedule this truck to get rebuilt up there. That's good. But sometimes you don't get that lucky. And the difference between the downtime can be a big decision maker as well. An in-frame on a typical truck, you could be looking anywhere between a week to 2 weeks, just depending on what engine and what truck configuration. An out-of-frame with a machine shop involved, you're probably looking about 4 to 6 weeks. And a lot of it depends on the machine shop, their backlog. We use a very, very good, reputable company, but they're busy for a reason. So sometimes we have to factor that. And even a third option, too, is a 3/4 engine. We did a lot of those in the Detroits because when the gliders were really popular, even when I came on here, we worked on a lot of gliders out there with a lot of Detroits and Cat and Cummins and everything. But there was a lot of Detroits out there. And there was one glider manufacturer that built a ton of them. And the way that they built them, they recycled a lot of parts. They used a lot of used parts in their engines. So we would get a truck in our shop with, say, 200,000 or 300,000 miles on it, and it had a bad head gasket. And we would pull the head gasket off, and just the lower end was just it was gone. I mean, there was no saving it at all. And we still see that from time to time on a lot of the Series 60s, like the 12.7s, because that engine's been out of production for, over 20 years now.
Yep.
That's an old block. And when people call me with a 20 to 30-year-old engine, we try to ask all the questions we can, like how many times has it been rebuilt? Has it been cut before? Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. And like on a Detroit deck surface, you can only cut it once. There's a little like embossing on the top of the block towards the front that is kind of like a tread depth gauge. Like you would look at your tires to see how much tread you have left. This is to let you know how much surface of material you have left.
Eric, we are out of time, man, because we start earlier. I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, man. I am so thrilled that you could take this first ride with us, brother. Just absolutely adore having you guys on the air. By the way, I have an old mechanic friend of mine. I can't get it out of my head. Every time somebody says liner protrusion, he always would sing the song Wall of Confusion and substitute those words. He would always be like, liner protrusion. Eric Moser, of course, thank you so much for making time with us this morning. We really appreciate it, brother. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for having us.
You got it. PittsburghPower.com.
Listening to you guys on YouTube radio, and then I switched over to Live 365 radio, and you guys sound great on the front porch.
Hey, by the way, everybody should hit those hearts for our good friend Kim. Everybody who's listening on any kind of streaming platform, just hit those hearts in celebration of her life. We'd love you guys to do that. Dave, this is it. That's it.
Yeah.
We're done. We actually got one in the books. We are rolling.
This is one for the books.
This is one for the books. I got to tell you, I dig what's happening. We got to have another show tomorrow. Radio Nemo is actually going to premiere Road Gang Radio. You might stop in and cause some mischief on your side of the equation. Always good having you. And, of course, it means at 9 o'clock, our good friend Lindsay Lawler is going to be dropping in to take us down the road a little bit. Another good lineup. Please check us out at radionemo.com. Check us out on the Book of Face over at the Dave Nemo Show. Please check us out everywhere that Nemo is present. Brother, have you enjoyed yourself?
Really has been a lot of fun. It's like futuristic and old home week all at the same time.
This place feels really old school, doesn't it?
It really does. Well, it is old school.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, and it feels this way, by the way, which of course is Raymond Lowry's brilliant idea of if you want to take people into the future, make them feel like they're going someplace in the past. All of that is possible because of Fastport. They solve America's toughest recruiting and workforce challenges through research, technology, and people. From registered apprenticeships to veteran readiness, you can learn more at fastport.com or nationalapprenticeship.org. Hey, Phone Master Dre, did you have a good time, brother?
Boy, did I have a good time.
You look good, dude.
Oh, thanks,
We're
man.
all dressed up. By the way, Brad Bentley came by, took some photos. You guys can see us in our nattiness. We're all in our nattiness. I've got a little natty Road Gang pin. Guys, by the way, go over to the Book of Face or the tweets and the twits, the grams of Insta, and get those Road Gang pins. What's up, brother?
Man, I'm wearing my gym shorts tomorrow. This is just for the first day. What you talking about?
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. We gotta keep it natty, brother. We gotta keep it natty.
We gotta wear matching shirts like him.
We should. By the way, if you guys want bowling shirts, Nemo bowling shirts, you should write a letter to weekends@radionemo.com and just at the beginning put bowling shirts in there. Maybe we'll get that going on, a little merch.
Yeah, extra money. You got to pay a little extra if you want the sweat of Dave Nemo in it. All right.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
He has not broke a sweat since he started this morning. By the way, isn't it much better when people are here?
Yeah, 100%. It's good to actually have a body in the room.
It's crazy, man. It's just like to have people in here and have it not be like on location, and to have you here is like the best experience in the world.
Stop it.
No, I'm telling you, man. By the way, Lindsay Lou's been listening. Our good friend, the Turtle, Touchdown Turtle, has been listening. Donna Howe has been listening. Lots of friends.
And the kids?
And the kids.
Apparently, we got to get you on a Sleep Time podcast.
We got to get you on a Sleep Time podcast. You know, we actually are going to have the boys from HP Podcraft. They love Ray Bradbury, and I have told them point blank, if anybody should ever read Ray Bradbury, it's Dave Nemo.
Really?
Oh, my God, you'd be perfect for Bradbury. You'd be
That is
like,
nice of you to say that.
Peak Bradbury. What you got, Dre?
Oh, I was just telling you we have 1 minute.
We got a minute left?
Yeah.
What the
50
heck
seconds
happened,
now.
by the way? Big thanks to Elisabeth Barna. Big thanks to Dan Ronan. Big thanks to Dean Croke. Big thanks to Mike Lutzenkirchen. Big thanks to John Esparza. Big thanks to Jamie Jones. Big thanks to... let's see how many people I can actually remember. It's been crazy, man.
Alex Nino.
Alex Nino. By the way, Alex, please promote us. Please, Alex. We could use 1/10 of those folks. I would be happy with 1/10 of those folks right now. I got big plans. Dre, by the way, as Mark likes to say, although he couldn't get on this morning, get us out of here.
That I can do.
Oh, there you are. Some hometown music.
From the city of New Orleans, this has been Nemo Nation coming at you live. We'll be on all the apps and all the fun stuff soon. I made that sound for this recording.